Okay. welcome, guys. Sorry for the late start. We got a lot of things going here. I'm working off of two devices and trying to make sure and orchestrate with a few friends who are supposed to join us. Um, welcome to the Hero Foundry, guys. Rico, thank you for joining me. I think we got Adam jumping in here in a minute. Um, Give me just 1 second to make sure everyone's inside. Oh. There we go. Boom. All right. So yeah, welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to start. I guess I don't know where you guys are all tuning in from. Where anyone watching live and anyone who tunes in to watch this later. Of course, I don't know where exactly you guys are, unless you jump on the call with us, like my buddy Rico here. And momentarily, we'll have a few other Foundry members joining, and I want to hear from you guys just about where you're at, what the situation is locally for you, what you're working on, and how we can all kind of keep in touch and support one another as the world seems to go into some strange times, I guess. Yeah, I think most places, it appears, most places are under quarantine of some sort. Um, okay, hang on 1 second again. Okay, just making sure we're live. Still getting acquainted with this new software. Um, so, as you guys, I'm sure, are aware, in most parts of the world, a lot of people are under at least a self quarantine. Certain countries are, kind of, I don't know how to put it other than taking steps towards lockdown. Um, So, here in the Philippines, which is where I'm broadcasting from, we're in Bohol, Philippines. This is the new office. It's still it needs a little work on the inside, but we just moved in here last month and been working really hard to get this new space all set up. And I want to show you just a quick tour of our facilities here in a minute. But we were originally scheduled, my birthday was Friday. And we had my father coming to the Philippines for his first visit. First time my dad and my stepmother coming to visit us here and see the Philippines for the first time. They were in New Zealand when the situation really started to escalate, and my father's got some health issues and has to get back to California for medical reasons. So they just canceled the second half of their trip and ended up not making it here to the Philippines. Unfortunately, they were due to be here last Wednesday, and anyhow, that was all canceled. My birthday was canceled. We had 2 weeks of hotels and tours and adventures planned, and everything's been canceled. I was hoping to do a grand opening party here for this new Hero Lab that we've opened, a new office, which I'll show you here in just a second. So this weekend was actually supposed to be our grand opening party. I was going to invite, all of our local friends and colleagues, and hoping to have my father here to help me hang the sign outside. But obviously, nothing went according to plan. And I'm obviously not the only person who everything's been canceled. It's like the world's been canceled this week. So it's a weird time. Things are a little bit chaotic, and obviously things have been changing. At least for me, I don't know about you guys, but things have been changing too fast to keep up with. But that's also why I wanted to make sure and get online with you guys and invite you to join me here on the stream anyone who's in the Foundry, if you guys are tuning in, you can leave comments on YouTube, and I will see them. So please go ahead and send any questions or share where you are in the world, what's going on for you locally. If you would like to join us, just say so, and I'm happy to bring you guys on to actually chat with me and Rico and hopefully Adam and Dwight here real soon. But let me go ahead and to give people a little bit of time to come on and join us. I'm just gonna go ahead and use the phone here and give a little tour. So let me see how well I can do with this. This is my first time. Okay, where are we? Tell you what, I'm gonna switch this around if I can. And I hope the internet holds up. So far, thank God, we've had power and well, water for the most part. Okay, so here we are, Hero Lab. We got our sign up. Didn't have my dad here to help, but we got it up. We found official signage. You can see this is our neighborhood. The streets are pretty quiet, but it's kind of nice. Lots of, we're basically on the edge of the jungle here. It's our house. And we finally, it took me 4 months, but took over this small space and did a lot of work to turn it into soul. Got our nice frosting logo here on the door. And yeah, we've been getting a couple desks. We got 4 desks actually now. So the idea originally was to kind of run this as a little bit of a co-working space. As my executive, we got space for doing some whiteboarding. Actually, the reason I decided to do this with the windows, one, so that the sun is not so harsh on us, we have privacy, but also we've got it set up so we can actually use the windows as a whiteboard as well. And just working on this, we eventually want to all this wallpaper with nice travel photos and get some motivational quotes up on the walls. But we got our private room here, printer and photography and videography equipment and stuff. There's a small restroom. This is where I do my work now, streams. It was a long time coming, but it's a nice space to do it. And then we open up the back and we're in the garden. But I hope it's coming through. The idea being, I do, if we let out and international becomes a thing again, I pray it does in not too long. But the idea was, we've got such a beautiful space here. I'm always trying to connect with other like-minded people, other nomads. So if you come out to the Philippines, give us a shout. You're welcome to come join us and use the office and get some work done. A nice property here. Kids can run around and play. We got swings, we got hammocks. We've been working. One of the projects I'm this week with my son is he's got a little YouTube channel now, and we want to teach him how to do gardening stuff. So we've actually got a lot of basil and spices and a couple tomatoes coming in the garden. We just got a pool. Got a nice sitting area. We out. Yeah, we're right on the edge of the jungle, which is actually kind of nice. So, we do bonfire out of the yard waste. Nice to just sit out here in the yard. I got a little bit of a gym set up where I do training with Chris, my son, Taekwondo. So I'm trying to teach him how to hit the bag and a little bit of basic equipment. But yeah, we're right out on the edge of the jungle, so it's very quiet, especially in quarantine. Very peaceful. I like being surrounded by green, and yeah, it's kind of nice. There's it's being built, you know, a couple lots over, but I think we'll have a lot of privacy and quiet to ourselves. There's the man. Say hi. I don't know if I'll say hi to the world. Hi. Hero Foundry. What are you doing?
Playing my room.
Chris has been learning how to build a beautiful hotel, or this app is called.
Wait, I have another.
Future Architect, I think.
I have another hotel.
So flip it around. Come on. All right. Anyways. Oh, very nice. Look at that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Nice work with a pool and everything, huh? And a chicken house. Actually, we got chickens in the back, so we're trying to learn, you know, how to become a little more sustainable. And we've been, learning a lot about gardening. We're raising chickens now. We got a few dogs that look after us. And, you know, at least when things get kind of weird, chickens out there in the back, Chicken Town. But yeah, when things get kind of weird like they are right now, I guess it feels good to at least have a little space, you know, and be able to raise some of our own food and all of that sort of stuff. Anyhow, okay, so I'm back in the office. Let me switch over to the laptop now and see if I can get things situated here. All right, guys. Let's switch it up. All right. Sorry, reverb. So there you have it. A little bit of a walk around. So I tried so hard. Let me bring you on here, Rico. Boom! What's up, my man? How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm good, buddy. I was spent all day yesterday trying to coordinate with everybody, see if we could get a group of us on at the same time. It's just you and me for the moment. Someone's watching too, but
I think that's me.
Are you on YouTube as well at the moment?
I got dual monitors here going. So
okay. Well, yeah, just do me a favor. Make sure you got it muted so we don't get a echo or anything. But anyhow, well, that's fine. If it's just you and me, it's just you and me, dude. Tell me, share with us if you don't mind. Where are you and what's your situation right now?
Well, my situation is I'm like everybody else. We're not quarantined, but we're just about there. Basically, everything you're seeing on the news is happening here. This is crazy times right now. I never thought in my lifetime I would see something like this, but it is what it is, and everybody has to deal with it. Sold my house. Cody knows my background a little bit. I sold my house a couple months ago. Just renting right now. The plan was we were going to buy another house, flip it, and then we're doing the nomad thing. So we're not sure how that's going to work out right now. We're kind of in the middle of that deal, so we're not sure. Like I said, everything's kind of up in the air, like everything else. So, but I have faith that everything's going to work out here. I think it's it's tough, but I think we're going to get through this. So
yeah, man. Well, yeah, I think I'm feeling the same as you. You know, certainly I never thought that I would witness something quite like this. It's like a movie. You know, it feels like we're in a bad movie right now.
Well, it's like Cody knows my background, so I follow the market a little bit. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it, and it's scary. But this sounds really maybe a little bit. There's going to be some good opportunities coming up. if people
Yes.
can take advantage of it. You know, as bad as that sounds, that's the way it is. And, you know, I think there's going to be a little bit more down, but we'll see what happens. But I think there's going to be some good coming of this. Hey, Dwight.
There's Dwight. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you made it back in time. What are you working on?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Dwight.
Yeah, what am I working on right at the moment?
Well, yeah, did you say you were running out to work on your visa? Did you just
Yeah,
get
I
that?
had to do a visa error, man. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Well, I'm surprised you're actually here at this time. I figured you'd take another hour probably at least, but
And just a warning, they're gonna have some construction over here, so I might have to mute up or send you guys a message in the chat.
okay. Well, it sounds okay for now. I hope I'm not. I know I always have a little background noise with my air going, but hope it's not too bad on my end either. Anyhow, I wanted to. You can tune back later if you missed it, because yeah, I just took the phone and walked around. I wanted to show people kind of the space here, the new office. I was, you know, I'm repeating for anyone who's actually watched from the beginning, but I wanted to share with you too, Dwight. We had everything lined up. My dad was going to be here last week. You know, Friday was my birthday. I wanted to have a grand opening party here at the new office on Saturday, and have my father there to help put up the sign. You know, we finally got official signage and stuff. And anyhow, like everything else in the world, that's all been, you know, that was all canceled. Just ended up having a pizza party at home, you know, just me and my family. But anyhow, we finally got the sign up with my neighbor's help. Thanks, Demi. And I just wanted to kind of show you guys around, since it's all kitted out now. So maybe if you get a chance, you can check out the very beginning of the video when it's up on YouTube. But yeah, it's weird times, huh? Like, I'm sure you guys had very different plans for what you had originally intended to be doing this week. Like everyone in the world.
My plans? I think there's a trash can around here.
Yeah, everything seems to be on whatever, out the window, huh? Rico was just saying, you know, yeah, this is unprecedented, right? No one's this. In many ways, I don't think we've ever seen a scenario like this in our lifetimes. I'm with you, Rico. Like, I think on the call last week, I had my friend Zach and my cousin, actually, Jim. I don't know if you got a chance to see the interview I did with them, but you know, somehow at one point we kind of got into the territory and the idea of I think it's a Chinese or Japanese. The word for crisis is like it's got danger and opportunity in it, you know, and that sprang to mind, I think, for all of us on the call last week. Yeah, I think like I'm doing my best to stay positive, and I think everyone needs to, you know, but also like not panic, but caution, you know. Yeah, like do what you need to do to take care of yourself. I think it's important, you know, especially right now. For the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to check in with, you know, everyone closest to me and people I'm concerned about, because I'm sure all of us on this call, like, we know a lot of travelers and people that are probably stuck somewhere they don't exactly want to be right now, you know, situations like that. And yeah, so I've been doing my best to just keep in contact with a lot of people, lots of conversations ongoing, and trying to touch base and just check in and see where everyone is. So, you know, if you guys aren't already on this call, I do encourage you to join us, you know, and yeah, check in, let us know where you are. At least do it with your friends and family. I think it's an important time, yeah, just to, one of the benefits is if everyone's going to be sitting at home, you know, with nothing to do, yeah, let's all keep in communication and look out for each other, even if remotely, however we can. So I want to try to lead the way in that and support that any way I can within the Foundry and the Hero Project group and stuff, wherever you guys are tuning in from. An unfortunate thing that happened to me, I don't know quite why still, but as I was having these 15 or 20 ongoing conversations last week, I think it was Wednesday night for me here, right before my birthday, Facebook disappeared, you know. So for some reason, I don't know what I said,
Corona.
but
The Corona thing.
well, it's, and
They're cracking down on.
my father sent me an article, actually, yeah, about how allegedly the story goes that they're sending a bunch of their employees home, and so they're having the AIs take over more about what do you call it? Moderating is what I wanted to say, but I think censoring is what they're doing. I'd had another friend of mine actually disappeared a few days before I did, so I kind of had this feeling like, I don't know. So anyway, I mean, I hope it's a temporary thing, and I'm trying to get in touch with them and work on getting it reestablished. But at the moment, unfortunately, I was right in the middle of 15 conversations with people, all worried about this quarantine situation, and then it's like poof. So I've been doing my best to connect with you guys elsewhere and just make sure we have some backup channels. Anyone who's inside the Foundry, speaking of that, I do have, I think like you guys are both on there already. We got a small crew, but what do you call it? Telegram app. If you would like to, at the moment I've got, you can connect with me directly there. We just need to swap phone numbers. I'd love to do that if you're a member, if you've been in any of our mastermind groups, especially, just to be able to keep in contact. It's for one of my techie friends, a couple of them actually have recommended it highly because it's end-to-end encryption. It's supposed to be very privacy oriented and secure. So, but I also have I guess a one-way broadcast, it turns out, but I just wanted to make sure there's a channel where I can kind of update you guys about what we're working on here at the Hero Lab. So I've been dropping a few pieces of content that I've been churning out, and just updating people there. Oh, Dwight says, where did you type that in? That must just be here in the, there you go. Cool, Rico, you got it. Yeah, thanks for the happy birthday, Dwight. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we just we got actually a 40-inch pizza, a gigantic pizza that lasted us. I think there's still some 4 days later, and we watched Thunderball, James Bond. I've been watching the old James Bonds with my son. So, well, yeah, Rico, you had mentioned like the market. And that's one reason I'm really glad to have you on here. I was thinking I would love to get your perspective on that angle of things, maybe in a few minutes. But first off, would you guys each want to, Dwight, why don't you kind of just share, like where are you at and what's happening there in Bangkok? What's the current status in Thailand? Because I think you guys have seemed to be a little behind as far as the escalation of like rules and things. But what's the latest on the ground there?
All right, I'm gonna try, man. It's noisy over here, but basically, the government just came out yesterday and they announced that all the restaurants and entertainment venues, everything have had to close. So people are a little bit panicked by that. Everybody's trying to get back to their home province and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's still a lot of people going to work. There's still business as usual in a lot of places. There's still, street vendors are still out and the markets are still open, and they're starting to crack down a bit. Like trying to like all those little restaurants and shops that you go to them now, they got their chairs still up on the table, so you're not allowed to sit down in there. But if you want to grab food and stuff like that, people can still get it. There's just it's just a climate of fear. People are just paranoid and trying to stock up on stuff, and but nothing nearly as bad as what I'm seeing online and in other places, and so I'm at least thankful for that.
Well, that's good, man. I guess you weren't kidding, were you? You got like people banging on the next wall over. But well, thank you for sharing, dude. I mean, so they're just kind of starting to close down business. I'd heard from well, my friend, and he's a fellow member in the Foundry, Ian, who's up in his home is in Pai, but I think he's currently in Chiang Mai. But he had actually just told me something yesterday, and it's so weird, right? Like even here locally, you know, someone will post something on Facebook, and then the whispers go around, and it's hard to know what's 100% legitimate, what's real, right, versus what's kind of just a rumor. But so I'm not trying to pass around rumors, but he's someone I trust a lot, and he had expressed concern. He said something about the prime minister talking about potentially expelling like all foreigners. I was like, are you serious? That seems, you know, even people who are living there, like residents, married, have kids like him, and I was taken aback by that. But have you heard anything along those lines? Anything politically from the leadership?
No, I mean, this is, of course, can be like a very xenophobic place, you know. But yeah, it would have to. It would take a lot. I don't even know if it's legally possible, you know. And it wouldn't solve the situation anyway. So I really kind of highly doubt it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I agree. I think it would just exacerbate the situation. So I hope it doesn't go that way.
I know in Canada, there is no flights. Like there is like the borders closed, except for you know, essential traffic. Like I'd find that hard to believe, but you never know with the Thai government. You know, Dwight's lived there longer than any of us, and just from what I've read, you know, I think there's just like Dwight said, there's a lot of fear, and some of it's warranted and some of it's unwarranted, is my opinion. You know, so like I said, I think everybody needs to take a deep breath and get through this. How we're going to get through this, because like I said, I've never in my lifetime would ever think I would see something like this. It's like something out of a movie, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, it's scary, but it sounds really bad. It's a little bit exciting to me, because I think it's, you know, there's going to be some good opportunities. You know, people are going to have to change their ways, I guess, and maybe for the better now, because I think the way things were, it wasn't working. So obviously we see that now, you know, and like I just know from a financial standpoint, markets, like things have to change, you know, and you know, these companies, you know, they borrow all this money to buy back their shares. Now they're screaming for bailouts, which is totally insane, you know, and the average person is basically locked in their house and could be on the street if things don't change. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, where's my bailout? Come on.
Yeah, you know, I've been doing that for 20 something years. I've never seen anything like it ever. Like I was just, before we got on here, I was looking, it's lock limit down, which is like they shut off the circuit breaker, boom, done. Limit up, circuit break. It's so volatile. I've never seen anything like it. And before all this, you know, 2 weeks ago, I was actually trading, and I'm like, I can't even, like, it's impossible right now to even do anything, to even dig your, yeah, it's tough. It's tough all around. So,
you know, some of your comments kind of remind me of something I was watching the other day. I think I don't know, it wasn't Joe Rogan, but I was thinking for a second it was the Joe Rogan podcast, but it was just Russell. You know, you guys know Russell Brand, who that is? English comedian, stand-up, and actor. Anyhow, you know, he's kind of a funny guy. And, you know, I don't really follow him, but he popped up on YouTube the other day, and you know, I gave it a short video, 12 or 15 minutes or something, and he was talking about, you know, from I think he's a rather, you know, kind of more from the liberal end of the spectrum, which is fine. But yeah, like talking about progress in the sense of okay, what's the word I'm looking for? Ecological, especially. You know, like, yeah, how the fact that in you know, this is like the culmination of all kinds of different crazy things all going on at once, of a complex world, right? And all these different complex systems sort of failing us in the face of a virus. But you know, he was trying to make the point, I think, how from a certain perspective, it's definitely like a wake-up call. Like, yeah, you guys as a species, like humanity, needs to adjust course a bit to be more in alignment or in balance with nature. You know, I don't buy, you know, a lot of people seem to believe that we're overpopulated, and personally I don't think that's true. I think this planet is way bigger than our minds can comprehend, and there's enough space and resources for everyone. But I do think that, like, yeah, we do need to work on finding better ways of managing it and being, you know, better stewards of nature and the resources around us.
There has to be more balance. That's where I'm getting out of this. You know, like me and Cindy, my wife, we talk, and like some good. You know, it's you know, it's always darkest before the dawn, I guess. And I think there's some good that's going to come out of this. You know, I personally feel that. A lot of people are scared. There's a lot of fear, definitely. But it is what it is, and it's reality right now. So either you accept it or you just you're gonna have to deal with it. So, but like I said, I think some good's gonna come out of it. You know, it's just gonna take some time. It's like everything else. So.
Well, so yeah, what about you, Rico? There, are you're just outside of Vancouver?
Yeah, I'm a couple hours north of Van. We're not on lockdown, but they're close. You know, there's a run on food and all that. You know, everything that you see, everything like that is going on here. The border's closed. They're talking. There's some provinces that are actually shutting down interprovincial traffic. So you cannot leave your province unless you're an essential worker. We're not there yet. I'm in BC, so we're not there yet, but I think it's coming this week. We're kind of the hotbed of Canada, just because there's a lot of Asian, like Vancouver has a lot of Asian population, and a lot of people from Hong Kong own property there. So I think, you know, Vancouver is a little bit of a hotspot. Toronto. Yeah, there's not much to say. Like, it's on the news, it's everywhere. You know, it's just, I think we have to kind of come together and get through this, because if we don't, we could be in big trouble here. You know, I don't know what this flu is, you know, if it's what they say it is. I have to trust what the experts are telling me. So I'm going to do what they say. And like I said, I think once we get through this, I think things are going to be a lot different for everybody. You know,
Absolutely.
I think there's going to be more balance in the world, especially North America. I think some things are going to change. I really do, for the better.
Yeah, whatever is happening, I definitely think. Oh, Sean, sorry. Okay, I'm going to bring you on in a minute here, buddy. But yeah, whatever can be said of like what in the world is happening, all I know for sure is we can kiss the old world goodbye. And I am hopeful, and I'm praying that, you know, that for the most part, it's in a good way. I think it's necessary. It's like, as I was saying, it's like, I think we need to change how we orient ourselves as a society to nature and our surroundings and our resources. You know, I think maybe stacking up millions upon millions of people in cities is not the best way, but that's just me. But you know, but yeah, it's a time to band together. That's why I'm trying to get you guys here together. Thank you for being here, and you know, do the same in your communities and with your friends and your family. Yeah, this is a time to two things, in my opinion. One is, like, we're gonna have a lot of time to. Most people, I think, like tons of people have already been sent home from work. You know, our island here, Bohol, in particular, is like such a tourism-centric economy. It's gonna hit hard here, even though there's still 0 cases. My island also, it's the number one tourist demographic here is, you know, Chinese visitors. And some, like, thank God, but somehow, strangely, yeah, we haven't had any confirmed cases yet. There's been several on and off, there's concern that there could be many, but there's still been 0 confirmed. So I'm praying it stays that way. And I get that we have to be treat it, be very careful about the situation. But yeah, it's definitely going to have a bigger impact, I think, on people's, like, so many people around the world are already, they've lost their income or they're going to, and economically it's going to hit us hard. It's going to be tough, but it's, as you say, it's like a chance to change the game, find new ways of being and earning a living and relating to one another, and hopefully in much more sustainable ways. So yeah, someone else recently said, like, look at it as a drill. I don't know. I have a feeling it is a drill, a global drill in some sense. But even if it's not, it's like, look at it as a drill. Like, we're testing the whole system around the world to see, how well can people work together and do the difficult things that need doing in the face of a threat like this. I hope it's a short, exercise, quote unquote. I hope it's, at first they told us we'd be under lockdown for 5 days. Now it's extended till next month. I have a feeling we're probably in for a ride for, I don't know, at least 2 to 3 months. I hope not too much longer than that. But either way, treat it like a drill. You got to take it seriously, right? But I don't, the world isn't over yet. It's not the end times, but it's a chance to see, how resilient you are with your current life circumstances, work circumstances, relationship circumstances. It's going to test all these things very, like, to their limits. So it's going to be very difficult, but we need that, right? And it'll show where the weak points are. But yeah, we all got to support each other through this. So I hope you'll all be, remain as connected as you can with us here in the Foundry. Sean, welcome, man. How are you, buddy? Thanks for hopping on. I don't know. Here, see if is your mic plugged in?
Sorry, I had you on mute. Okay, is that better?
Yeah. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you, Rico and Dwight. I've heard a lot about you, but I hadn't gotten to meet you before now. I live in Atlanta, and we're not on lockdown yet, but we're probably close. They're starting to limit a lot of things. And I run an IT team. So tomorrow, probably this week, we'll start working from home. About half of our office started doing that last week. But they just weren't ready for the technical challenges that would, make everyone go home to work. So they're kind of figuring the rest of that out. And I expect my team will probably go home in the next day or two to work from home. I feel really lucky in that just where I'm positioned right now, it's kind of hard to be in this whole lockdown scenario for a lot of people, but I feel lucky in where I am right now as far as my work, because as far as I know, that'll continue because we'll be able to work from home shortly. As far as my living circumstances, I think I wrote you, Cody, a few months ago, on the starting the grand adventure. I sold my house last year to downsize, to save expenses, to save money, to get ready to leave the U.S. and maybe work or move somewhere else. So I'm kind of in that save state. So I feel pretty good positioned where I am. So I'm, I think it's going to be really hard for a lot of people, and because it's going to impact so many people's incomes drastically when things are shut down as much as they are. So I feel, really concerned about that. And my parents, they're watching their portfolio values drop by thousands of dollars and trying not to freak out. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for tuning in, buddy. I'm glad to see your face. It's been a long time, and thanks for
It
sharing
has.
what's going on for you there. Yeah, I think like it's anyone who has been on the digital nomad path, I guess, either doing it already or going that direction. Hopefully, the impact will be a little less on some of us. We should be thankful for that because, yeah, I mean, many people I'm talking to. Either they already were working remotely or their work at least is something they can essentially do remotely. So they're being sent home. And one of the silver linings I hope for a lot of folks is if you still have work, hopefully praying for you. But if you do, hopefully this is a chance where maybe you could, prove yourself remotely, working from home, prove your ability to get the job done.
Well, that's the thing, our company, my director, we could all do work from home as far as technically what we do, but like our leadership didn't want us to.
Right.
And so I think there was kind of a barrier there, like, we could do it, but we weren't prepared with that kind of like disaster plan. Well, what would we do if this scenario came up? So I think they're scrambling a little bit to kind of put all that into place now that we have to.
But yeah, I think on the whole, like this is definitely going to push the market, businesses in general in that direction. Right. I think it's going to become easier to negotiate a remote work agreement with your employers after this,
Right.
So in some sense, that's a good thing, right? Hopefully a little silver lining. I think it's a chance for people to eke out a little more flexibility and freedom for themselves. So
absolutely.
Ian, my friend, I was just speaking of the devil. He's here. Look out. My goodness, I don't think I've ever gotten your face on video. How are you doing, brother?
Yo.
I'm glad to see you, man. Oh, sorry, I just muted you. There you are. Tell us where you're at. Are you in Chiang Mai?
I'm in Chiang Mai right now. Everything's shut down today.
Today?
Yeah. Yep. The malls, everything.
Yeah. And well, so what are you working on, or what's your situation, your plan there at the moment?
Not much. I've just been inside the last 7 days. I think I've already had it.
You had said that.
My kids have already had it. My son just got out of the hospital, but there's no tests here, so or at least up here up north. So don't know if it was just the flu or whatever, but we're all good. My youngest son's still a little sick, but he's way better already. No fever or anything, just a little cough.
That's good to hear.
So we're all isolated. That's why I'm not home right now. Up in Pai, I'm just here in Chiang Mai in my condo, not going anywhere.
Gotcha. Are you, are you on the mend? Are you feeling better than last week?
I'm 100% now.
Okay.
It was rough last week, but I'm okay. It was all good. It wasn't that bad.
Once, like a month or so ago, right, when the news, I mean, I know it's been around for several months, but probably about a month ago when the word really started spreading around amongst my friend circle online, at least, I kept asking people, like, do you know anyone personally? I'm sure there's a real virus. I'm not saying there's not, just to clarify up front. But I wanted to hear, who actually has it, and I kept asking around. But you're one of the few who I've personally heard.
Well, I don't know if I really had it. It could have just been the normal flu, for all I know.
You guys were definitely
considering like half my building is Wuhan. So I don't know. I'm probably around it a lot. So I assume I got it, and then my kids got it, and everyone's fine. And so it's not that big of a deal. The actual virus itself, but I'm staying in anyway. Just probably another week or so, just to not give it to anybody else. I'm stocked up. freezer full of steaks, so I'm all good.
Ian always does it in style, and you know how to cook. So I guess you got someone taking good care of you yourself. That's
Pretty much,
weird.
yeah.
I was in Chiang Mai in December, and I'm not saying I had it, but I was sick for 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't move, and I'm not saying I had it, but that was
Like, I mean,
in my life.
Thailand in general, but especially Bangkok is like Cancun for China. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's been here since the beginning anyway.
Because we flew into Hong Kong, stayed over Bangkok, and then we went to Chiang Mai. And like I said, I'm not saying I had it, but I've never been that sick in my life. Like, it was like bedridden. So, and then my wife.
I mean, all of us, the fever only, like me and all three of the kids, like it didn't really last more than the fever itself. The cold sweats and all that was like 2 days. It wasn't. I've had flus worse than that. The kids recovered super quick. Like my daughter got over it really quick, and then my oldest son got it, and he was really bad for about 2 days, and then he's all good now. And my youngest son, he got it really bad. He had 104 temperature. He was in the hospital for a night, but he got, like, right now he's running around. You would never know. So it hit everyone hard, but it was quick. You know, I've been coughing a little bit the last week, but that's all cleared up now. My son's still coughing a little bit. My daughter's all good. So whether it was or it wasn't, I kind of hope it was, because, you know,
build immunity. Yeah.
Yeah. If it is true that I'd rather get it in the early stages before the hospitals are crowded. But yeah, I mean, it's good for the kids, I think. If they did have it, it's good that they had it and got that over with. Hopefully. So.
Well, that is the thing. Like, I mean, there's multiple issues going on, right? It's like there's the virus itself, and protecting yourself as best you can from that. But also, like a virus, it has to go through the population and be integrated, right? And we build immunity.
I think the big concern is if it's going through the population too fast at one time, the hospitals are going to get overloaded and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, I mean, everyone's going to get it, or 80% of the population or whatever. It's just a matter of how controlled it is and whether we can stop most people from getting it until there's good treatments available.
I think the way most countries are getting hit, like it's something has to be done, right, to slow it down at least enough so that it's not slamming the medical industry, the hospitals, etc. But I mean, not that I ever would be in charge, but at times I'm like, there has to be a slightly better way to kind of orchestrate to manage this, because I think the fear is worse. One thing
the big problem is the economy. I mean, it's good for us right now. Like, most of, like, because our courses teach people how to make money at home. So our sales are skyrocketing right now. People
good time to be,
do that. And also, what we teach, Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of offers out there for like survival type stuff and, gardening and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're doing really good right now. So I'm not worried from a financial perspective yet, but I mean, for a business like ours to sustain long-term, like people have to have expendable income. And if they don't buy courses and training products and stuff. So we'll see how it pans out.
The long-term downside, it could be very hard, but let's pray for the best. But I was just going to say, like, at least as far as the virus itself, one thing I just wanted to share with everyone out there in YouTube land, and I don't know if this will make it on Facebook or not, because I'm banned from there now, but wherever it finds you, one thing I would recommend, like, if you don't already know about it, look up the placebo effect. Like everyone knows what a placebo is, right? You know, when they test new pharmaceutical drugs, they test them against a placebo, which is basically like an empty pill, you know? And it's astounding, actually. It's science, it's medical science, but the placebo effect, I don't think they could quite explain it, but the way I would put it is like, I firmly believe that your belief has an immense impact, you know, bigger than the medicine itself. Your belief about your own health or your own state of mind has such a huge impact on your healing, your recovery, and whether you'll even succumb to, you know, a virus or a disease or not. And so, I mean, that's what I was starting to say earlier is like, yeah, there is obviously a virus out there and a lot of people are going to get it. But at the same time, I feel, I don't know, it's such a hard time because it's like we're all being pushed to, it's like you got to watch the news just to know what's going on. This stuff is happening and changing so quickly. But I think it's an important time to also really have caution about like letting the fear stuff too much into your mind, you know, into your beliefs. Because if you're in a very intense state of fear, panic, worry, you know, that will probably weaken your immune system. But yeah, check it out on Wikipedia if you haven't read about it before. The placebo effect, it's fascinating. And you know, that and the financial stuff actually makes me want to, it reminds me, I was reading, you guys know who, well, Simon Black, Ian, you guys know Sovereign Man? Most of you? Let me see if I can, let's see. Share my screen. Pull up this. Can you guys see this, Sovereign Man?
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, so I was reading last week. This is from last week, I think, March 11th. But I really liked what Simon said with oh, is it showing my whole screen? Is it showing my whole screen? Yeah, I guess it is. But that's okay there. The year 1348, in the words of historian A.L. Maycock, was the closest that humanity ever came to going extinct. That was the year the Black Death descended on the European continent, and many historians today estimate that it killed as much as 60% of Europe's population. Italy was hit especially hard by the plague, just like today, interestingly. Port cities like Venice were accustomed to receiving ships from all over the world, and many of them carried the Yersinia pestis bacteria, which caused the plague. And it was out of this pandemic that the first modern public health measures emerged. You know, I won't read through this whole thing, but, you know, basically, yeah, the Black Plague just demolished European society, right, back in the 13 and 1400s. But so many medical innovations came out of it. The Renaissance essentially kind of came out of the Black Death. Yeah, he said, you know, coronavirus will certainly have a major impact. Just look at Italy. The entire country's on lockdown. I actually talked to my friend Marco last week. You know, yeah, he was the first person I spoke to who was on basically full lockdown, 24/7 curfew. And I believe I saw pictures that they have like army trucks out in the streets now. For whatever reason. Anyhow, the entire country's on lockdown, practically frozen in time like the ruins at Pompeii. We can't even begin to grasp how much of an impact that will have on the economy. China, the world's second largest economy and biggest manufacturer, effectively shut down last month, and that alone is enough to tip the world into recession. Yeah, that's a very, like, even if it had, you know, it started with China, right? And when I saw essentially most of the world community agree, like, we're gonna quarantine China as a nation. Like, that was the first thing I noticed. I don't know about you guys, but I was like, whoa, that blew my mind. And I think, yeah, the far-reaching implications of that are going to drastically change how the world works, even if that was all we were looking at, but it's not. This is as bad as 9/11 was for the airline industry, only worse, actually. Tourism, which compromises more than 10% of global GDP, has completely collapsed. Like, we're feeling that obviously already here. We're going to have to change our business model a bit, because that's what we were building around. A lot of friends are feeling that. Obviously, Sport Bowl has been canceled. Lots of concerts, and I mean, everything's canceled at this point, right? This is from almost 2 weeks ago, but we're barely scratching the surface. You might remember back in late 2018 that the U.S. stock market fell nearly 20%, mostly because the Federal Reserve in the United States had gradually raised interest rates. You know, just a small fraction, and yet it was enough to cause investors to panic and the stock market to plummet. And Simon wrote back then, the lesson is these falls can happen faster and be more severe than anyone expects. We saw some of the most popular and largest stocks in the world nearly get cut in half because the Federal Reserve raised interest rates by a few basis points. What happens when we have a real reason to be worried? The real reason to be worried is now upon us. I don't know who that is, but can one of you, I think someone's microphone's picking up some background noise. Thank you. Stocks are down around 20% from the peak, and it's probably more than that. Rico, you can fill us in here in a minute. But yeah, it's worth considering. If the market fell 20% back in 2018 because the Federal Reserve raised interest rates to a measly 2.25%, it seems like this crash might still have a ways to go. There's going to be real damage to the global economy. Corporate earnings will fall. Plenty of companies will fail, especially in oil and tourism. The unemployment rate will rise, tax revenue will shrink, and government deficits will skyrocket. And central banks will be completely powerless. You know, he talks about the Fed, and a lot of times when we have, I mean, in now, looking back on most of the crises we have on a weekly basis, they're nothing in comparison, right? But basically saying how the Fed typically would try to help control or maintain at least the market in situations like this, but this is too big. Earlier this month, they already held an emergency meeting to cut rates by 0.5% to boost the economy and calm markets, but it had absolutely no effect. You know, he goes on about, I wanted to get to the good point, but he's saying how the games that, at least in the US, and I know that the game is similar elsewhere, but the Federal Reserve, the central bank, does what it can to at least calm the market. But the old, kind of what we were saying, you know, old ways are not really cutting it anymore. And we're feeling the pain of things not working more and more. And, you know, life and whatever, the world itself will put us in increasingly difficult situations until we change. But, you know, he wraps it up just saying no interest rate cut is going to make the coronavirus go away. So there's really nothing that any central bank can do about this. It's not, I mean, it's going to affect economics and the market more than probably anything ever. But bottom line, this is going to be a wild ride, and we've barely started. But as I've said before, he writes, we're going to see some extraordinary opportunities come out of this, and anyone with courage and clear thinking will do extremely well. So I guess, sorry, I remembered that being a little more of a positive focus. I guess he just kind of mentions at the end there, but it's true. I think, yeah, in any time of crisis, there are just countless opportunities, you know, so it's a time to, not to panic, but yes, be cautious, take a look at, you know, what are the leaky spots in your boat. Take a look at the weak points in your life, your business, your employment, your family, your living situation. and take actions to improve those things. But it is also a chance when we might, I mean, if you keep your eyes open, like he says, anyone with courage and clear thinking, like you've got to not succumb to panic and worry and fear. But if you can, educate yourself and keep an eye on the bigger picture, there are going to be a lot of opportunities. Even here, just to give an example, like a week or two ago, before we went on official lockdown here in the Philippines, I was talking with a friend. It was just days before, but the first businesses to start closing up shop, at least, were the Chinese-owned businesses, because they were essentially told to go home. There's still a few here, I'm sure, just like there are in Thailand. But a lot of Chinese businesses closed up shop, predominantly because their customer base wasn't coming here anymore, because flights from China were banned. And so, we noticed that first, but of course it's hitting a lot of businesses, hotels and resorts and restaurants and bars, and everything here is catering to tourism. So slowly but sure, I mean, not that slowly, but day by day we're seeing lots of layoffs, even at some of the bigger hotels and resorts and things. So it's just, it's definitely making a very negative impact in many people's lives. But at the same time, for those who are, I mean, I would say that there will be opportunities for everyone. But in this conversation with my friend, we were thinking, who was it? I think it was Warren Buffett said something like, when everyone is scared, that's the time to be bold or to have courage. Like if everyone is panic selling things, well, there's going to be opportunities to buy businesses, property, vehicles, motorbikes, stuff like that, probably on fire sale, while people are panicking and trying to do whatever they need to do to have the resources they need and figure out their situation. So it's, there's always, it's a double-edged sword. But I think, everywhere you look, as long as you can keep a clear mind, a cool head, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for those that have the courage to chase them down. What do you guys think? Are you in that mind space yet, or
people are already panic selling things? I just bought a bunch of property.
Did you?
Yeah, in North Carolina.
Yeah, nice.
Super cheap.
That's awesome.
They're offloading their assets. I just bought 7 acres for $25,000. 7.28 acres actually. So.
That's awesome, brother. I hope I get to make a trip to see your homestead one day. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm ready to look out, so I'm just waiting, like stocks wise, because that's kind of my background. I think there's more down, but like it's hard. This is maybe a little bit terrible thing to say, but people's misfortune is some other people's fortune, and this is just the way it is. I went through the 2008 crash, and this is not even close to that. I think we got a lot more down. So if people are patient, and I think you'll be rewarded. Just like I said, my just kind of hit me. I sold my house. Cody knows my background. I sold my house, started trading, and then on this kind of hit, it's like for what I do day trading. I follow the market. It's just impossible for me to do this because the liquidity is dried up. A lot of these big high frequency trading firms, the volume's not there. That's why the market is dropping. That's my opinion. This is why the market is dropping. Yes, there's a lot of fear, but these firms and hedge funds and everything else is a big cause of what's going on here. This is my opinion. And I think, when this is all said and done, I think there's going to be some big changes in that area because they're the dominant players now. And, part of what I'm seeing is that they're causing a little bit of this, Just because they pulled, they're not really trading, so there's no volume. The market is falling because it's trying to find people to buy, and with these firms, they buy and sell in seconds, and they're just not there. So the market is dropping and panicking, and we need to find these bids that people, where an area, I guess what I'm trying to say, where people are willing to buy, and I don't think we're there yet. So we'll see what happens. But I'm waiting. I'm going to load up here as soon as I feel it's time. So hopefully it works out.
Well, yeah, in a few conversations I've had with people like my father, and family and stuff. I mean, I'm not as educated. I don't really play in the stock market like you do, Rico. And so, yeah, I do. I want to get more of your perspective here in a second. But I would say generally, like people who are just casual, participants in that, like things like retirement accounts and stuff like that. I almost feel like it is time to probably pull at least what you need out of that, unless you're in the game like you are. I know a few other buddies who are day traders, and like I don't know how they do this magic, but there's a killing to be made if especially
Yeah.
and things like that. But what do you, like for the average, kind of passive retirement type investor, do you have any advice right now versus what you're doing?
Well, my advice, this is my opinion.
Your opinion, sorry. This is not legal or
I'm not a
financial advice, but this is maybe what you would do.
I would get out. The problem is, like even tonight, the market went limit down. When that means there's circuit breakers on these exchanges, and as soon as it went down 5%, it shuts off. So when people, and I think there's a 7% after that, and if that happens overnight, these markets trade 24 hours. So if that happens overnight, you cannot sell or buy until the market opens New York time 9:30. So you're already, when the market opens, it's going to gap down, and that's what's been happening. So you're in the hole a couple percent already. So my opinion is, I know people don't want to take a loss and it's going to come back, but I think it's different this time. The magnitude and the veracity, like I've never seen it in over 20 years. I've never seen the kind of movements we're getting. Like, we're in a minute, it's moving 20 points, which is insane. 4 years ago, if it moved 3 points in an hour, you were lucky, and that's the kind of volatility you're dealing with. And a lot of people can't take that. But my opinion is get out, salvage what you got, and wait for the kind of the bottom. Wait till things calm down, and these stocks will come back. It's just, I can't tell you when, or I can't tell you how, or when it's going to happen or anything. But I think when things start coming down, and in a couple months, maybe by summertime, it might be a little bit better. Like Cody, that article, you're absolutely 100% right. They raised the interest rates a couple of percent, and the market drops 20. That's how fragile, things are. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning. Like things are going to change because a lot of the market, I feel, and this is my opinion, is controlled by 4 or 5 big hedge funds, and it's crazy that they're allowed to they control, like in the futures market, I can't remember the exact 60 or 70% of the volume. In the stock market, it's 60 or 70. And that there's trillions of dollars a day that's moving back and forth with these hedge funds. And now they've pulled. This is my opinion. They've pulled the liquidity out of the market, and this is where you're seeing the moves you're seeing, because there's no buyers there's just nobody there to take these bids, right? And I think it's going to keep going until the government either steps in, or I'm afraid they're going to shut the markets down for the exchanges down for 2 weeks. Then you're going to see panic because people can't get. I think that'd be a huge mistake, but I think it might be coming, or they're going to outlaw short selling. there's lots of stuff they can do. Like I said, it's way too crazy now to even think about putting money in. But my opinion is, back to the point, salvage what you got and kind of wait it out here. That's what I'm doing, and I did. I kind of got lucky. I sold my house a couple months ago. I'm kind of free and clear. I don't really have, I'm renting right now. It's just bad timing. But a lot of people are, it sounds like I said, I feel guilty kind of saying that, but a lot of people are in worse shape than I am, but it's like, that's just the way it is. So,
hey, Rico, hadn't there been other markets that have already banned short selling right now temporarily?
Not that I know of, but I'm on Twitter and I'm reading some of these guys that, they're professional. They give advice and they think that's the next move. I think that's a little bit drastic because like I said, the problem is, this is my opinion, is that there's lack of liquidity in the market right now, and that's why it's dropping as hard as it is. So if you're shutting the markets down, if you're cutting them, these people, these big hedge funds, they can't hedge their positions. They can't,
right?
There's a lot of factors that go, into what's going on. A lot of pension funds are selling. Whatever, you guys know what's going on. You see what's going on, so I don't really have to. It's just panic. It's panic selling. Wait till it calms down, and I think you'll do well.
I spoke to a buddy of mine yesterday. Actually, he's a financial analyst at one of these. He does a lot of this day trading stuff, but he's an economics major, financial analysis, and he was, what he was saying, not to cause any more panic than there already was, but he made it sound pretty dire. Actually, he's like, if you combine the movements in the market, the potential action by the government with shutting down the market, like you said, combined with now hitting potentially 30% unemployment, it's actually bigger than the Great Depression. Like the amount of market movement and the amount of job loss is already in a month worse than the Great Depression was. So he's saying the models that he's drawn out, like we got 5 years before, 5-6 years in a very similar to depression status position before things really start to turn positive. Things are a lot different nowadays. So who knows? They can only use historical analysis, but when you think about it from that perspective, that's what really scares me, is like this fear is driving major economic disasters, and there's going to be a lot of good that comes from it. I think there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to realize that they can work from home or whatever. So there's going to be a lot of benefits from it. And if you look at the Great Depression, some of the richest people in the world were made from it, but unfortunately it's at the expense of, people who aren't in that economic sector.
Yeah, that's why I feel, like I said, I feel guilty, but I don't know. I've never, like I said, I keep saying this, I've never seen anything like it. I've never, I went through 2008 and I went through 2000. 2008, like I thought the world was going to end, and this, like it's, I don't know, man, it's tough, and Ian's probably right. This could be a couple of years. Yeah. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, right now, just the last week has been, don't even try to pick a bottom or anything. Like because it's not there. This wait till things calm down and you can get a little bit clearer vision, because like I said, this is, the government could step in, buy equities, a couple $1 trillion. I don't know what Trump's, you see, there's another factor is President Trump, this is an election year, and he's going to, it's kind of out of his hands now, but he's going to do everything in his power, to buy his way out of this if that's even possible. You know, I heard $4 trillion for this buyout. You know, I don't know what the U.S. deficit is, but I think it's 24 or something. So, you know, like that's
Just print another 50.
problem is what's that?
Didn't we just put like $500 billion or something?
Yeah,
it didn't do anything. It like
no.
it spiked the market for like 5 minutes, and I was.
But that's the problem. These big these hedge funds, and this is my opinion, guys, and people. These there's these huge hedge funds and these high frequency trading. They make up a majority of the volume in these markets. You know, so when they don't trade. Yeah, you're going to get, it's, people that don't really understand, people are buying and selling, but it's these guys that actually control everything. And that's what I was telling Cody before we went on. Like, there's going to be, in my opinion, they can't allow this again because we're just going to go through this again, and like 2008, I would have thought these guys, the government and everything else, but it kind of dealt with, because that was part of the issue then too. But now it's as prevalent. Like that's what the market is. It's not, and I think that's a huge contributing factor to this.
Sounds like a good time to clean shop.
Yeah, it's time to clean shop. I know I was talking to one guy I used to work with. They want to go back to open outcry, which is, the guys in the pits doing, because it's not better, but it's, you're not going to get these kind of, that's never going to happen. We're in that kind of age now. That's never going to happen. But, they're kind of, who knows? I don't know. Like, we're in uncharted territory, to be honest with you. But,
absolutely.
And like I said, people that I feel a little bit bad saying this, and I'm not that, Cody knows me, and I'm not that type of person, but there's going to be some good opportunities, but it's going to be on the back of people, it's going to be on the backs of people that, that got in too deep or whatever. Right. So, but that's just, I don't know. This is the way it is. And
what was that, Ian?
Is that it's going to be on the backs of people who never got in on all. That's the problem. It's going to be the lower class communities that are going to feel the brunt of this when the soup kitchens come back from Depression era stuff. Yeah, it's not bankers in those soup lines, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that, like I said, from a financial thing, that's what our market. I'm from Canada. Same thing up here. Exactly. The TSX has dropped 30%. I talked to my dad. He refuses to sell, like even now, because he doesn't want to take a loss. Like, it's just human nature. He's going to ride it out. He's 70 something. So I don't know. I don't know. I tried to tell him he doesn't, people are going to do their own thing. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, Trump, he can pull some bag of tricks, but I don't think it's there. Like, you can't keep throwing money at something that's broken.
Right. I think whatever happens, we're going to see some changes, we have to. Either we'll see changes.
Well,
I'm just hoping the changes aren't for the negative. I'm a little worried that this economic impact is going to cause a lot of unsettlement towards our freedoms as well. I mean, especially
starting.
But I mean, you're seeing stuff all over the world, but I'm just saying specifically in America, there's a lot of people moving behind the scenes, using this as a, using this panic as an opportunity to change things that, we held in high esteem before, that, we may be willing to give up. Like, a lot of people are unfortunately willing to give up their freedom for security.
Yes.
And I don't know, that's my biggest concern is, what are those kind of changes? Who are the people operating behind the scenes to push agendas through using, I don't think this I don't think the virus itself was some sort of conspiracy or anything, but I think there's people in power who are seeing the opportunity in the panic and the fear. And that's what really worries me about all this.
Yeah, never let a good crisis go to waste. That's the, some people's perspective. Yeah, that's.
Well, they kind of got us now.
concerns as well.
That's the sad thing. They kind of got us now.
Yeah.
Like I
I
said,
mean, if you would have said a month ago that the government would have you locking yourself in your house and people would be fighting each other in grocery store aisles over toilet paper, like people would have laughed at it. And the reality is, I posted this on Twitter today, is like, we don't, we've lived in such a prosperous time that like our generation doesn't understand hardship at all. Like I speak to my grandfather about this, who's in World War II. Like people are people are panicking because they have to sit on a couch for 2 weeks and they can't go outside, and they got Netflix and power and water and 800 pounds of food and 100 rolls of toilet paper. What are they going to do when stuff really gets when shit really hits the fan?
Yeah. Okay. So
our generation has been spoiled heavily. Like we don't know what hardship is, unfortunately.
We have actually lived in the best times ever, I think, and that's why I get it. I get everyone's perspective and I appreciate it, but sometimes I get a little bored of hearing certain.
I get stressed out with people on Twitter saying
about everything when we've had the best times ever, right? What were you saying?
I was just saying, it makes me laugh, but it's kind of annoying when I see like all the people on Twitter complaining about how they have to sit at home for 2 weeks and watch Netflix and they can't figure out what to watch. Or, the big thing, and Cody, I mean, we've talked about this and stuff, is like all the parents at home now with their kids, and they're like, how do people do this? This is miserable. Like I can't get anything done. It's like, welcome to our world.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to show how.
Oh my God, you may have to spend time with your family. That's a big problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to show how fortunate we actually have been, and yeah, maybe unfortunately, we will not continue to be as fortunate for at least a while, but. Yeah, I think at least looking back, we can say like, damn, that was like the golden age of everything going pretty well, actually, compared to this new era or whatever we may be entering. I mean, I think that, I still want to preserve hope that good things will come out of this. But yeah, we've almost been spoiled, right? And we still are at the moment. Yeah, Netflix and the power's still on, internet's still working so far.
Yeah, my grandfather was talking about like real rationing, where you're allowed a certain amount of flour every month and stuff in World War II.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's wise to start preparing for those scenarios right now as well. Like I don't want to be negative, but I think like that's what I was saying before. Treat this like a drill. It's going to show you your weak spots, and don't ignore those things. Don't just spend the next however long this lasts. Don't just spend the next 2 weeks or 2 months just watching Netflix. Like you can do some of that. That's fine. You're gonna have lots of time. But like it's the time to look around and say, well, what if the power does go off? What if my water supply gets cut off? What if I am cut off communication wise from like you guys? People in my network, family, friends. So I think it's at least a test of our systems, our individual systems right now. And I do like not to panic people and not to like it's not end times, but I think it's a good time to think about those things and just to become like get yourself set up while you can to be as self-reliant and sustainable as possible. I tweeted out the other day because I was reminded. Thinking about these things, like here personally, I mean, our water goes out like already, at least a couple times a week. Like I've become accustomed to that living where we do. And it's annoying, but like, so that's a project I'm working on. It's like building a reservoir, whatever, getting a tank and having at least some of my own water supply. Power is another thing I'm thinking about. So I've been looking at generators. I think, yeah, it's smart to, especially during a quarantine, it is smart. And if you have family, have a few weeks of dry food, canned goods, whatever, but yeah, take some of the prepper stuff that you may have laughed at in the past a little bit more seriously. I don't think it's not desperately urgent. However, I do recommend people learn more about those things and be conscious of those things around you. So yeah, I mentioned Neil Strauss. I think Neil Strauss's book Emergency. I tweeted that out the other day because that's one I read years ago, and I at the time I found it quite compelling. So I would recommend, look up Emergency. I think the subtitle's like "This book will save your life" or something like that. Got lots of good tips for, I guess, homesteading, going off grid. Just
We talked about
building
this.
a more
We've talked about
sustainable.
this a lot before.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
that's
that's always been my end goal. What's funny is like all this hard work I do and working online and all this kind of stuff. The end goal has always been to just live self-sustainably on a farm somewhere. All this is doing is exposing the idea that why am I waiting so long? Hence the recent land purchase.
Well, yeah. Would you share more like about some of the ideas you've shared with me in the past? What types of projects have you worked on at home, and what do you have planned for this property in the future?
I mean, I've been doing a few things. So, like, originally I had a farm in Costa Rica for a few years. That's kind of where I got my hands wet on it. My house in Pi is fully self-sustainable. We have enough water storage, rainwater collection for several months probably. We have 200 chickens in our yards. We have pig, in our yard. We got pigs. We got several acres of farm. I probably got 2 or 3 years supply of rice. I mean, it's kind of the nature of my wife's family anyway. Like they're a hill tribe. They're farmers. The only thing that my house couldn't really manage is power. But we do have a generator, so we do have access to some stuff. But yeah, I mean, for 15 years, I've been, all this has been to, buy some land, build a fully self-sustainable estate that my kids can grow up on and learn with. And, I've always had that in me. I watched my great grandmother, grow her garden and everything. And I've always just wanted to, I don't like being dependent on other people for my survival. So that's ultimately, like I said, it's been my end goal for 15 years is to do this. I always kind of wondered why I didn't start it sooner, especially considering that I can pretty much work from anywhere. So I don't need to be somewhere for a job or in a city or anything like that. It's just how it is.
Well, yeah, man. Like I said earlier, I do look forward to one day visiting your property out there in, what was it, North Carolina? You said?
Yeah, North Carolina. It's at the base of the land I just got. It's at the base. I don't have it yet. I still got maybe 20 days till it closes, but I purchased it already. It's at the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Appalachia. It's about 3,000 feet above sea level. So it's a 4-season climate. It's cooler, rains a lot, which is good for, there's a few reasons. North Carolina, next, I think Idaho is number one. North Carolina is the second freest state as far as, like, if you look at things from, regulations for homeschooling, regulations for building.
Constitutional perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they're constitutional states. You're allowed to, if you own land, you own land. Taxes, they can't take your land from you for not paying your $80 in taxes or whatever for a year or whatever. Again, there's stuff like homeschooling regulations, these kind of things. It's not even that I would even homeschool my kids necessarily. It's just I like the idea that I have the freedom to do that stuff. I mean, this land is an unincorporated area, which has 0 building regulations. So I can basically build what I want, how I want, without any permits or government insight or inspections. Not that I won't build to code. Like, I'll build it completely to code. The land is heavily wooded with mature trees for a purpose, which I also bought a portable sawmill. Again, you have access to your own wood, build your own house, all this kind of stuff. There's a mountain spring on the property, so I have access to water. It's like, and that's part of what all this has been, is like, and why it's taken so long, is finding that perfect space that has free access to water, free access to resources like trees, for anywhere from like firewood to building materials. That doesn't have government insight and regulation that tells you what you can and can't build, and how you build it, when you build it, and all that kind of stuff. It's a good access point. It's close to the mountains. There's no laws about firearm ownership for protection or hunting or whatever. It's on the back end of 4,000 acres of hunting land. I mean, you just have to have options. It's more about options than about what you'll actually do. Am I going to go hunting? I grew up like that, but, it's nice to know that that option's available. When shit hits the fan, if the economy does crash, if it is another depression and we got 5 years where, it's going to be hard to come across, the amenities that we've had, restaurants and food and even money to buy those things. It's good to have options.
Yeah.
I'm from Asheville, Ian. All my family lives in Asheville. I'm from Asheville.
Asheville's only about an hour from where I'm at. So I'm in the Mount Airy area.
Okay. Yeah.
So just north, about 5 miles from the Virginia border as well.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I was specifically looking in that area. Closer to Asheville would have been nicer, but
much more expensive.
A lot more expensive.
A lot more expensive.
Yeah. So, but it'll I don't even know if it's a forever place or whatever, but it'll serve its purpose for now, I guess. There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, we were talking about going to Indo because my wife's family's from there. So I don't know. It's kind of everything's up in the air right now.
I've had this thing I'm in Thailand. I've been here 11 years. I have a house that I've built, and my whole wife's family's here. My kids are here. Everyone's here. There's a lot of things, but there's still uncertainty being here. The land isn't mine. Me and my wife have had some problems, and my rights to my children aren't necessarily secure all the time. She's going through some mental mental issues that I don't have a lot of control over. So, I mean, it's great living here. I love it here. You know, there's a reason I've been here for 11 years, but there's also a minor insecurity here. I mean, you never know. And I had a friend not that long ago, and Dustin knows his dad, or Dustin knows his son. But Cody knows Dustin, his son, I think, right?
Yeah.
But his neighbor didn't like his dad for, like him for some reason, and was a police officer and had him deported out of the country. So, I mean, I don't like that insecurity. Not that I necessarily feel that secure back home in the States, but I'm thinking about long term for me and my kids and stuff like that. So.
Well, yeah, nowhere is safe, is it? I mean, not 100%. You got to just deal with whatever you have. I mean, yeah, I'm thinking about, Dwight, I'm reading your messages. You got to jump in here sometimes, brother. But yeah, there is whatever. This is the human race. Like, we span the gamut. Some people are like the people you work with, Dwight, right? I mean, I couldn't even imagine how these scenarios are gonna probably impact refugees in the heart of a big, dense Asian city, for example. But I mean, yeah, like at the same time, like nobody's life is perfect, right? It doesn't matter what scale your life is at or how much wealth you have or don't have. But like, yeah, we're all gonna be facing some difficulties. Yeah, I do feel something, it's gonna be hard, I think, for a lot of people that are already in bad situations. But I don't, then again, who knows? Like maybe there'll be more in some ways. Well, exactly. Yeah, Dwight just typed, refugees are better prepared in some ways than the rest of us. And actually, yeah, because if you're used to, hard times and having to rely on yourself more, then in some ways that's certainly a benefit, versus those of us who have, been spoiled are gonna have a rude awakening, perhaps, when the things we have come to rely on are kind of taken away. Yeah, I mean, if you want to jump on though, brother, and share, like, one thing I was thinking about, Dwight. I mean, is the noise really bad for you right now? I assume.
Actually, they calmed down a little bit, but still some knocking.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, if you can jump in, maybe with some of your perspective. But yeah, this, like talking about, I guess just self-reliance and like homesteading, that kind of stuff. I mean, it makes me think about what you're doing with kids in the inner city and urban gardening. I mean, you've figured out, yeah, I believe, a way to at least be a little more self-sustaining, even though you're right in the heart of Bangkok. Like, I mean, one thing that I just have been constantly thinking about this last week is, we've been, you guys have probably each seen it. I've shared pictures and photos or videos and photos here and there, but we've been slowly working on the garden. I brought some seeds home, back with me from Thailand last year when I visited you there. And I've been slowly learning, like, by no means an expert at all. Everything I learned from that guy and your staff, which was great. But this is the time when it's like, oh, like, yeah, thinking about the depression, like you were saying, Ian, and like your grandfather, like people who actually went through like genuine hard times, which we haven't seen for 60 or 80 years at least. It's like my grandparents, I didn't understand it when I was a little kid, but now it makes sense. Like, they always had a vegetable garden, in their backyard. they always, like my grandfather used to make his own jams and jellies, you know, and but you know, they would raise tomatoes and eggplants and broccoli and I mean anything they could. And so I think now is the time to. I'm sure that many more people will be kind of going that direction, and I think that's a good thing. But yeah, like what do you think, Dwight? Like, what can someone that maybe is just in an apartment or a small, like a condo in the city or something? Do you have any tips for people as far as at least starting to learn about like growing their own food or become like even just learning to cook for themselves? You know, like I think the skills you teach are such integral personal skills. It's better to have those than to not have them. You might not have the resources, but at least like having that understanding, I think is a really valuable thing, and especially in a time like this. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, even you know, for the stuff we're doing, what I've been telling everybody is like, you know, today is too late. Like, if you gotta grow something, you should have started yesterday.
A year ago.
Like, but yeah, I mean, you know, we're no experts or anything, but just trying to, you know, do what we can and like get our food from, you know, places that, you know, now people are trying to panic and find other places to order food from. So I feel a little better that we don't have to go to like the grocery store as much as other people. But I don't know. It's going to be tough for people in cities, especially to figure all this stuff out.
What's it like there in Bangkok right now? I mean, I assume you guys shut down like a day or two before we did. Are the markets all shut down and everything?
I think people are being dramatic calling it a shutdown. Really, it's more like the malls and you know, restaurants. You can't eat in a restaurant or anything like that. But for the most part, like, you're free to move around and everything still. So.
Well, that's good for you for now. So tell me about, what did you say about a wet market? You said something. I don't know if you're just joking.
Well,
to be honest, I'm going to
shutting them down, supposedly.
Say again?
I heard, I don't know, like, you know, the media, but I heard China is actually outlawed. Like, even after supposedly this is over with, supposedly these are wet markets supposed to be outlawed now. We'll see what happens with that, but that's what I heard. I didn't hear. I don't know if Thailand has that big of a wet market. Yeah, I'm just seeing from what I've read. That's what I heard.
Well, yeah. So Dwight, you said something
I've
about
heard about that, but what is that? Can someone just give us a definition of that? Because I've read it, but I don't know really what that means.
Dwight, tell us.
I think, and I'm not sure which ones they're outlawing in China because I haven't read that, but I think, you know, people are talking about maybe they're just looking at these fresh markets where, you know, you might be walking through like pig's blood or whatever to go and get, you know, the stuff that you need. Here, the way communities are set up, or at least the way they were originally before, you know, all of this highways and everything like that, is that you had this fresh market in every community, like the way probably the U.S. was, you know, 60 or 70 years ago.
Sorry, I'm still muted. I was just going to say, Dwight, I mean, I don't know if you were just joking, but what's, I mean, is there, I don't know how to phrase my question. I think whatever the hell happened in Wuhan, China is way beyond just pig's blood on the floor. That's what, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I would say there's something else probably going on there. But I mean, you've spent a lot of your time over the last, 10, 15 years, Dwight, like, you know, shopping in these often open air markets and wet markets, whatever you want to call them. We've got one not too far from us where Jam goes 2-3 times a week to get fish, and different things. Much of Asia that's how it's done. But like, do you think that it actually really poses a bigger threat, like health-wise, as long as people are practicing, good hygiene?
I think the issue is they're probably talking about a lot of this illegal wildlife that they're, killing and selling and all of that. I think that's where they're probably talking about shutting stuff down.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's what I meant. There, the wildlife, like the deer and the raccoons, and like I said, that's what I read. And you can believe what you want to believe, but supposedly China, they're outlawing it supposedly. So, like I said, we'll see what happens.
I know they have a big. Again, I don't know what word to use, but an obsession, I guess, an interest, something. Many Chinese, I guess, they have a thing for wild animals or I don't know.
Maybe you mean exotic. More
Exotic, thank you.
things.
There you go. That's the word.
Yeah.
Yes, exotic animals. Yeah, usually found in the wild. I mean, everyone's heard of like the shark fin soup, right? And they said it was bats or something. Isn't that the story that was going around for a while? People thought this might have originated from bat soup or something like that. Is that right?
I don't think they really know what.
Yeah, we'll never know.
You hear whatever, right? I'm in northern Canada, and like I live in grizzly country in black bear. And I remember reading this a couple of years ago that they would shoot the bear and just cut the paws off because they'd use them for ashtrays and stuff, and the gallbladder and stuff like that. But that's outlawed now. So, yeah.
Well, so
I'm sorry, guys, to interrupt, but it's getting late here for me, so I'm gonna have to bow out. But I really enjoyed being with you and talking to y'all.
Well, hey, thank you for joining us. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you join us, buddy. Thank you for jumping on.
Hope to interact with you more at a later time. So thanks. Have a good night.
Get a good night's rest and take care of yourself. Stay safe there. But yeah, keep stay tuned, and I'm sure we'll be doing this a lot more in the coming weeks.
All right, cool, great.
See you, buddy.
Good night.
I was just gonna say, with some of these topics we've kind of been dancing around in. Well, before I move on, one thought that came to mind. Someone had, speaking of learning to raise your own food, gardening. I mean, some of us, if you're fortunate, it's a time to look around and be fortunate for what you have, whatever that is. Like everyone has something to be grateful for, and it's probably not the best time to be comparing with others. I mean, I don't think any time is, but just it's a time to look around and do take stock of like the resources at your disposal, of your surroundings, and of, if you're like me living with family, like who's on your team, and just like businesses, just like governments, like this is a time that's going to force us all to, try to get on the same page with the people that you're living with as best you can, and try to take stock of what you've got at your fingertips and be as resourceful as you can. But I wanted to say, with regards to the idea of like gardening and maybe learning at least a little bit about raising your own food, if nothing more, like if you don't have a patch of land at all, like even a small area to start trying to garden in the yard. Someone had mentioned to me the other day something about a sprout machine, like bean sprouts.
Yeah, you can do sprouting is an easy, quick way to get some super nutritious food in your stomach if you need it.
Yeah, so I think there's little micro scale things even like that you could do at home, right?
I just think all this stuff is super important to look into, at least, because regardless of how long this pans out or whether this turns into depression or whatever, this isn't the last time it's going to happen.
Right.
In fact, it's probably going to get more often and more frequent now. So like you said, it's a good time to take this time out and assess the weak areas, in your life and in your living situation, and start thinking about what you can do for next time, because
Yes.
I mean, I promise there's going to be a next time, and I promise it's not going to be 60 years from now.
Yes.
You know, and I think, you know, and not only that, I mean, for people like me and Cody, I don't know about if the other two of you have kids, but like we have kids, and I want to prepare them for what they're going to face in their life too. And really, the only real food security we have is the ability and the knowledge to grow our own food. I mean, it's bad enough that most of the food that we have access to is genetically modified or God knows what else. So, I mean, learning stuff from like seed saving, growing for your condition, you know, for your environment and all that kind of stuff. I mean, these are invaluable tools that even if your kid doesn't grow up to be a farmer, you know, when times like this happen, they have the knowledge and the ability and the capability to survive. And I mean, that's just my only thought right now is I think, you know, it's funny, like you're talking about, like a lot of people are starting to think about this. An acquaintance I know sells chicks, like baby chickens, as well as chicken coops to, you know, to farmers and stuff like that. And he can't even keep it. It went from like, he would sell maybe like 5 chicken coops a month, and now he's selling 5 a day. I think people are starting to see these, you know, these holes already. Only a few weeks in, they're starting to see these holes, and people are already starting to buy backyard chickens. You know, starting, you know, another one of the families I watch a bunch of homesteading channels on YouTube, like homesteading vloggers, and one of them saves and sells seeds, and they can't even keep up with the demand. Just in the last 2 weeks, it's been, you know, their business is skyrocketing. I think people are starting to see these holes, and I think it's smart, you know, like I said, whether this clears up in a month and everything's fine and we're all back to normal and we go about our happy way, you know, doesn't mean it's not going to happen again, and we need to be prepared for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, you know, several years ago. He would talk about it on and off. I used to hear him talk about raising hens all the time. He was getting eggs every day, and it planted the seeds in my mind, you know, of interest in that. And yeah, more and more I've wanted to do that since we have the space here now. I'm thankful, very thankful that we actually made that investment, like back in whatever, late January or so. You know, we just bought 2 hens. Now we've got 5, and now I think at the moment there's like 12 eggs that one of the mamas sitting on. So, you know, like just
you know, like we got like 200.
That's amazing.
You know, it didn't start late, but it's a constantly renewable resource. Right. There's new chicks every week. You know, and you know, it's not only the chickens, but then we get the eggs. You know, the thing is like the one thing I have about our position here now, other than, like I said, some of the insecurities from a political point of view, being in Thailand. I mean, the one thing I can say right now is that, like, my family would not starve for, well, probably ever, honestly. I mean, like I said, we grow and we have stored, and we consistently grow enough rice to support our family 20 times over. And, you know, my mother-in-law sells the rest of it. We grow enough vegetables and potatoes. We use my wife's mom grows a lot of that excess rice, a lot of the excess garlic that we grow, and a lot of the chickens, because we grow a specific type of chicken. They're Chinese black chickens, specifically because they're considered medicinal and they're worth 3 times the amount. But we trade a lot of those for the stuff that we don't grow. I mean, my wife's family is a hill tribe, so they're very, you know, they still work heavily on barter systems and stuff like that. So between our constant supply of chicken itself, the eggs that they provide, our rice, garlic, potatoes, and the stuff that in the amount that we grow, that we can trade a lot of that stuff for the stuff that we don't grow. I personally have my garden on the side of my house. I grow tomatoes, I grow peppers, I have a lemon tree, we got squash and stuff like that, watermelon in season and stuff like that. So like I'm not really I wouldn't be concerned about starving here. But I don't think a lot of people can say that. I mean, a lot of people up in Pi can say that because that's how a lot of people live. But yeah, I mean, being down here in Chiang Mai, even seeing this younger generation of Thais who their parents grew up a certain way and the way they are now, I don't know if they could manage very easily.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and Dwight was just chiming in saying, they've gone the other direction, trying to be less meat dependent. I mean, I think that it all
I think it's relative and it works in any direction. I mean, I think being less meat dependent or totally meat independent is totally fine and doable, especially if the climate allows you to grow year round. I mean, here you can grow year round. You can do that. There are places like Canada, it'd be impossible. You can't. I mean, unless you have a lot of money and you got indoor heated barns for growing and stuff like that. You got that. Also, I mean, there's a belief that you don't even necessarily have to be meat dependent, but using animals as part of the rotational agricultural process for even if you're not eating the chickens or eating the cows,
right?
You farm grass and you farm good fertilizer for vegetables to grow. I mean, either way to look at it, we should be looking at it's sustainable agriculture in general.
Almost ready to get my first goats just to mow the lawn.
Yeah, I mean, and there's benefits of it. There's they mow the lawn, which regenerates the grass. Goats specifically, they're browsers, so they eat a lot of the tree level stuff, which provides more sun to the lower level grasses, and the fertilizer they provide. And if you have a chicken that comes over, so there's a whole sustainable agricultural system that's doable with or without eating meat. I've heard arguments on both sides. I mean, one of the benefits, if you were one of the guys I follow, he's like a pro meat keto, in this position, and he's doing this whole thing where, they're doing 20-hour intermittent fasting and eating pure animal products, and they need a far less amount of food in general to sustain, because of the amount of fat is, more satiating or whatever. But, it's to each person's preference, really. But I think fully sustainable systems are much better overall. I mean, you can't keep growing vegetables in one spot and deplete the soil and not have an animal grazing it, walking it, shitting on it to amend the soil. I mean, it's impossible. It would eventually, your soil would die down. I mean, that's what's happened in a lot of the paddy rice here in Thailand has no nutrition in it at all because they fill it with water. They deplete the soil of all the nutrients and energy. They don't amend it with any type of, bone meal or anything like that. So eventually it comes to the point where there's not a lot of nutrition in the rice in general. So, I mean, good sustainable agricultural systems, permaculture, stuff like that are much better. But yeah, certain climates are definitely more inclined to work well for moving away from meat in general. But most of the northern U.S. and Canada and, even China, like a lot of it'd be impossible. I mean, they're just, the terrain doesn't allow it. The weather, the climate doesn't allow it.
Well, I'm doing a lot of looking around me and yeah, just figuring out because we got lots of fruit trees and stuff, and yeah, I like being on the edge of the jungle. I like having private access to some a waterway where I could do a little fishing if I have to. But yeah, it's a good time to learn these things. You're well, sprouting seed, aren't you? You're the man to talk to, I guess. We're gonna have to.
I still have that email. I did a when I was 23. I was a chef, and I worked at the French Laundry. And then I went over from the French Laundry. I went to Berkeley and worked with Alice Waters on the, Dwight might appreciate this, on the Edible Schoolyard project. And that's where a lot of it came from. So I went to Arizona and we did the whole Litchfield School District. We started the Sprouting Seed Foundation, which was converting traditional school lunches to local sustainable agricultural food projects. And I still have that email from 20 years ago.
That's awesome. Well, I might need to consult with you a little bit soon, Ian, because yeah, I want to start doing some more serious gardening projects and to like teach Chris, involve him as we do it. And my mother-in-law, she's got a pretty good green thumb, so she does a lot of stuff here in the garden. But yeah, I want to get the whole family involved and like you're saying, teach my kids these important life skills. It's like, yeah, whether or not you use them,
whether or not they use them
next year, but like it's good to know, Yeah. Anyhow, let me welcome Eric. What's up, man? He just joined us. How are you doing, buddy? Where are you calling from?
Hey, man, good. Here, outside of Victoria, Texas. Work.
Good to see your face. How's things there? What's the situation?
Yeah, well, they've taken, at least here at work, taken a whole lot of precaution. They've got different shift schedules. They got cleaning logs, and only allow one person per vehicle when driving around the plant. The city, actually, I think just the U.S. in general has gotten to where it's just no flights in, no flights out. I believe, securing both the southern and northern borders as well, so we can't go out. Nobody's coming in. As far as locally, I mean, there's thankfully not a whole lot happening right now. There's been cases, but not too much.
Well, how are you and your family holding up? How you feeling, and what are you guys doing to prepare yourselves, I guess, in this scenario?
Well, the wife's getting stir crazy staying home.
Mine too, yeah.
She was telling me today she just wants to get out and go somewhere, but preparations, man, we were kind of just taking it a day at a time. Really, everything at the store is so low. Everybody, there's lines outside the store in the morning when you get there, so it's all kind of just hit and miss sometimes with what you can find. As far as growing stuff, no, we haven't started any of that. We've talked about it, but we never have started it.
Well, now's the time, man. Yeah, so I don't know how much of the broadcast you were able to see there from work, Eric, but we've been on up 2 hours now, but I'll keep going as long as you guys have the energy. But yeah, we've got into a lot of topics really, but I think it's Ian and I especially, and I mean all of us, but yeah, we've been thinking along these lines for a long time. Being fathers, I guess, thinking about what are the most important, just basic life skills you could pass down to your kids, like that. That's something that definitely changed my whole perspective on life when I became a father. And yeah, just thinking about what are the simple things my grandparents taught me, my father, how to use your hands, how to build things, how to raise a vegetable garden in the backyard if you have the space, stuff like that. And I guess I'll bring it up one more time. If anyone missed it, one of the resources I do recommend is a book called Emergency. This book will save your life by Neil Strauss, same author of the Game, right? But look that up on Amazon or whatever. I think, I read that years ago, and it's a real interesting primer. I don't know what to call that world, but like for homesteaders or preppers or whatever. But I think we will see, like, yeah, it's something that everyone should take seriously. Not to panic. I don't think it's too late, but it's definitely time to start learning about those types of skills and plugging any holes in your boat. Figuring out your weak spots and building more anti-fragile systems for yourself, I guess. One thing I wanted to mention that I don't think I did on this broadcast yet, when I sat down with my friends Zach and Jim last week, I think it was, this is a principle that I've long embraced, but I think it was Zach last week brought up the source, like Marcus Aurelius, who was one of the emperors of the Roman Empire way back in the day. If any of you guys study Stoicism, you'll probably know that name, but there's a book called Meditations, and it's meditations of Marcus Aurelius, about how to be a king though that sounds strange, but like how to rule a society justly, and as calm-headedly as possible. And I mean, when I first read that, it was definitely a life-changing book. But yeah, Zach brought it up again, and I think it's definitely another great read in a time like this. But especially for us men and family men or whatever, like if you're trying to build your kingdom, like whatever that is, whether it's a business or just your family, your home, your community in some sense or another, this is it's kind of in a sense our time to double down and to excel, even though it's going to be a very challenging time. But the one, I guess, soundbite, whatever from Marcus Aurelius that Zach brought up last week was just the principle of like, look around. I don't have the quote in front of me, so I can't say verbatim, but you've heard this principle before. Don't be distracted or worried by the things that are like outside of your sphere of influence or your sphere of control, but try in a time like this to focus more on the things that are within your sphere of influence. So I mean, it's your own mind. This is what we practice in the Hero Foundry, right? This is what I've been trying to teach. It's like the 4 pillars that we talk about. Ian, like Garrett has essentially the same system with his core 4. But I always say it kind of starts from within. I think your mindset, your beliefs, is one area that is within your control, whether you realize that or not. Your physical body, your health, kind of stems from that. And then you look at your relationships around you. Your wife, your kids, your family, any friends, or even neighbors, right? I mean, in a time like this, look around you. What are the resources at your disposal? Who are the people in your life that you're all on the same team in some sense? Trying to thrive, trying to build a community that works well, and then of course your wealth. But I think there has never been a more important time to focus on like what are those things. Take stock, if in your own life, mindset, health, wealth, relationships. What is your reality right now? I guess what do you have around you, and take stock of your resources and focus on what you personally can do to make your surroundings better, you know, to make your living situation or the scenario for your family or your neighbors, your community as positive as possible, right? And I'm really we lost Eric for a second. I'm really hoping, you know, I think that this is definitely time for us to, like those of you guys who've been in the Foundry with me for a while, double down on this work we've been doing, you know, and really, yeah, focus on what is in your control, what's in your sphere of influence, and how can you be a leader wherever that is, you know. How can you be a leader for your family in hard times? How can you be a leader in your business? It's already incredibly hard on many of us economically. However, I think in many ways, like it's gonna clear away so much of the competition. You know, it's going to open new opportunities for the right leaders that we need in the world now. You know, like because things have to change, right? I mean, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot change. You know, like the stock market will probably change, right? The way travel happens is probably going to change, I imagine. The way governments relate to their subjects or their citizens, their people, is changing. But I really believe like the power is in, you know, start with yourself, start with your family, start with your neighborhood and your local community, and I think that if we can stay strong, nurture a strong mindset, strong beliefs, whatever those may be for you, and strive to be that person that others can rely on. Actually, that's a Jordan Peterson thing, right? Didn't he say something about like you want to be the person who the shoulder or whatever, the person that others can rely on, like at your own father's funeral. You know, you want to. I hope you all have. I'm sure you all have been in your own way, you know, doing the work, right, to build that inner strength. But like this is the time to shine. This is the time that's gonna like force us to be that person, to be the best we can be, and hopefully lead by example. And you know, maybe your family will kind of step up to the challenge with you. Maybe your neighbors and your local community will step up to that challenge with you. And I think that that's what will get us through. But yeah, I guess overall I wanted to well, number one, yeah, I do recommend, like Zach brought up last week, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's a really good read. I think it's particularly for anyone trying to build something big, you know, or lead a movement, or just develop a stoic mindset. But I did want to kind of bring the conversation back around to, you know, I mean, yeah, we've, in one way or another, each of you guys on this call right now, we've been through some shit together. I don't know what to, you know, in one way or another. I mean, we're all just guys on our own journey, right? And I've been with several of you through hard things. You have been there for me as I've gone through very hard things. And with the Foundry, you know, it's been a very long, slow process developing this new business and opening this new office. And we had a certain plan of things I had intended to do in a direction I thought I was going. But obviously, you know, this interrupts everything across the world. All of our plans have changed. But the one thing that I do think, like the one, I guess I hope one service I can do my best to provide for my community, at least online, is just to be here, you know, and yeah, to try to foster a place where we can gather. I mean, I want to do this at least every week. If you guys want to do more than that, like if you'll be here, I'll do it every day, you know. But I think it is an important time just to stay connected, even though we might be, in isolation, but it doesn't mean we can't have group calls, and at least support each other remotely. So I think it's important to stay connected as best we can and just to support each other in any way possible. So yeah, I hope that we can at least provide a venue, and I want to open it up to each of you guys. I mean, what you're each in a unique spot, but if any of you guys would you be willing to share, like what is the biggest thing, I guess, you've got out of being part of any of my programs or being on the mastermind, or what is it that draws you? Why are you on this call right now? What is it that draws you to what we're doing, and how can we best serve you in this time? What direction do you think would be best? Getting feedback, I think, from Rico's end. But yeah, feel free to jump on. I want to hear, like, what have you guys gotten out of being part of the Foundry community, and I guess what personally, there is so much to keep up with, right? Everything's changing on a daily basis around us, but I think one thing's for sure, we're looking at least a few weeks, probably more likely a few months, and dare I say it, but maybe a significant amount of time where we're going to be sitting at home alone, right? So looking down the barrel of this situation, what value have you got from being involved in a small circle of guys that are working on themselves, personal development, business, growth, and what are the things that are most important to you right now, I suppose, to focus on personally? Because I want to try to support and nurture that, and build something around what you guys are working on, and try to continue to support one another as we go through difficult times. What do you guys think?
Yeah, my furnace is kicking in, Cody. That's that sound. So I don't know if you guys can.
It's better now. No worries.
Yeah. When I was with Cody, or when I was with you a couple months ago, we've talked quite a bit. It's, I think now, like for me back then, some people I think the world, not the world, but even nowadays, there's got to be some leadership, and and there's more to life than the money situation, and there's the spiritual side, and I think that's what's going to come from all of this. People are actually going to come together because there's such disconnect, and I just feel, being in the Foundry, you're connected. Like, I've had PS to connect my whole life. And, that's what I get out of it, and this whole situation, I think, is going to bring people together. And I would like to see, the people in power and the people that have money, work together, because we all have to work together now, or else we're, Ian's right, like, we're going to the shitter, I think. But I have some faith, that this is only going to be a couple weeks, maybe a couple, a month, summer. But I'd like, some leadership, and, from people in power, I guess. That's what I need to see to kind of reassure. I'm not scared by any means, but it's just, I don't see anything right now. I just see everybody panicking and the fear, but I also see the good that's going to come out of this. As crazy as that sounds, I can feel it. Anyway, that's what I get out of the Foundry. It's just this: you're connected to other people. And, we're all from different types of, like, Dwight works with refugees. I'm whatever. Cody does. We're all different, and it's like we come together and we just talk, and it's kind of therapeutic to me. I don't know what else anybody else has to say, but that's what I get out of it.
I agree, man. Well, and thank you for sharing. I mean, yeah, as far that's my concern. I agree with your point about how. I mean, it's obvious that many people in positions of authority are doing. They're probably doing their best to do what they need to do right now. But yeah, the leadership, particularly from a mindset perspective, in my opinion, is lacking. It's if I could make, not that I'm in a position to have any right to, but I'm just gonna, this is my stream, so I'll make my critique. If I could make one critique, it's like, I think that while it is a time to take stock of things around you and identify the problems that in your own, um, in your own personal life, in your family, in your living situation, particularly, it's not time to panic, right? It's not time to spread fear. And I do feel like the way a lot of it's probably largely due to the media more than the leaders themselves, but I feel, I think there's a lot of overlap in those two worlds. and more steps could have been taken to manage it from the fear virus perspective, I guess. Like, I think the way things have rolled out, yeah, I see too many people giving in to fear. And like you said, Rico, fear is there. Fear and pain and suffering are on their way. This is life, right? But really, like you were saying, I think it's a time to band together, to try to kind of, it's like the world seems to be pushing us to get into our own communities, and like all that old stuff. I mean, it's still going to be there for a long time, but it's becoming obvious, if you ask me, that the old systems and structures, I'm not an anarchist. I'm not saying they need to be torn down or anything like that, but like, they are crumbling like before our very eyes, I think, and it's probably going to take a very long time, but like, new things are being born into the world, new institutions, new ways of thinking about the world, new ways of being, right? And all of this, I think, has been coming for a long time. It's like the perfect storm of all these things that I've seen coming for a long time, and I think most of you guys will agree with that. But yeah, life is going to put us in a really painful, difficult situation to see what we're made of, and see who will, I guess, yeah, rise to be the new leaders. I think, if that makes sense. And this relates back to the hero's journey stuff that I talked about, and Joseph Campbell, my man. I've always been talking about this. I know it's I don't know if any of you guys have ever read that or have that, but the academic mythological side of that is very dense. But like, the hero's journey applies to all of us, to our the journey we take through life. And this whole scenario, the whole virus, the panic, the quarantine, all of it, in a sense, to me, strange as it may sound again, but like, it almost appears to me like, okay, I don't know. I mean, I think we have chosen this on some level, but it's going to feel like we're being forced. But like, we're on the ride now. Like, there's no getting off. We're on a journey together. It's like the whole world has decided it's on one big hero's journey together. Like, none of us know what's coming. There's definitely many threats out there. It's going to entail, pain and hardship and challenges, obstacles, enemies, quote unquote. Not that it's any one person, but like, ideas or challenges that need to be overcome. And somewhere deep down in the conscious, the collective unconscious is what I'm trying to say. There's some dragon. I don't know what that is yet. I haven't identified it. But there's things that need slaying, and I guess really what I'm saying is like, yeah, those are patterns of behavior that we all participate in. Yeah, yeah. Rico says the dragon is fear. That's a big one. Absolutely. But yeah, like, you know, patterns of behavior and beliefs and yeah, just ways of interacting with each other. So I you know, there's a lot of hardship coming our way, but I think it's also like that is the story of the hero's journey. You know, when something dies, something else is born. You know, the phoenix might rise out of the ashes, or the hero may be resurrected. You know, or whatever. Some, you know, people do pass away too, but even in that, you know, something, we leave something behind. And I think at the very least, yeah, this is a time to really think deeply about, like, what are we leaving behind? What are we working on that might outlive us, and how can we impact the people around us in the best way possible?
Yeah, and Cody, I just want to add, like, for me, this whole process is like what's really important now. You know, it's made me kind of step back and just, you know, like, what's important in my life and what do I want, and just I'm gonna go for it. You know, no matter what now. So, you know, we had a little setback here, but I got faith. Everything's it's gonna work out. So that's where I'm at. You know, I still have faith. You know, is it going to be hard? Yeah, but maybe that's what the world needs right now. Like you said, maybe. Sorry, guys. Maybe it's. I don't know. I think, like, the old rules are there. There is no rules anymore, and per se. Again, people are actually, you know, they've been exposed a little bit. And I talked about this to Cody a couple months ago. It's like people, they live in this bubble, and it's like, you know, Ian brought this up. You know, they live in this bubble, and now it's exposed. So, you know, and I think people, you know, I have faith in people, and I think it's going to be okay. You know, there is going to be pain, short-term pains, but we're going to see. We're going to see what happens, and we're going to go from there.
Yeah, I agree. It's like it is scary. You know, let's admit it. I feel like just the level of uncertainty, and it makes you aware how much is out of your control, right? And it's like, yeah, it's fine to admit that and recognize it, but like I was saying before, okay, admit what is not in your control. Admit when there's a problem, right? We got to look at the truth of the reality as best we can. And yeah, this is popping a lot of people's safety bubbles, right? And they're like, so that's causing the panic and the fear and the worries. Like, you don't live in quite as safe of a bubble as you thought you did, maybe. But then, yeah, like, turn your focus, your attention, your energy towards the things that you do, that you can control. You know, what every day, like, just wake up. I mean, I got to admit myself, like, it has been so emotionally, you know, there's been just so much emotional turmoil, I guess, in the air, and just stuff changing so fast. It's like half of the last week, it's like every day I'm just like, okay, what is my, you know, get my head clear and figure out, yeah, what's one simple thing that I can do that at least will improve our situation here, you know, for my family, at the house, etc. Like yeah, getting the right resources so that I feel comfortable enough, you know, taking the steps to well, like, I mean, here was a fun one. You know, we just got a blow up pool so that Chris has something to do. You know, I mean, but sometimes, yeah, you just gotta, like, kind of step back, take a breath, and just figure out what's a simple project I can complete today. You know, that it might not be huge, but it will make my situation better. But I do think, like, we're gonna have lots of time to be with ourselves. I do agree. Like, it's I think that there is a spiritual awakening, you know, coming. I mean, we're in the middle of it, you know, and I think that, again, it's like life will force us or God, is forcing us to kind of be with ourselves, to look at reality a little bit more, dropping some of the false preconceived ideas, and that will cause a bit of panic, but truths are being revealed, and like it feels like we're being called to kind of, I guess, like you said, Rico, like figure out what really matters.
For me, it's almost like a reset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even people I've talked to, it's kind of like it's like a reset. Okay, now we're sitting at home. Now, like, what's important? Like, what's important to you? Like, it could be everybody's different, but like, what is important to you, and concentrate on that and make yourself a better person. Because that's the only way I think we're going to get through this. And is it as bad as it seems? I don't know. My guts tells me. I don't know. It's hard to. I can't. I'm just hoping somebody, I don't know. Somebody steps in, with the market, like financial wise, is my area. Somebody steps in, Warren Buffett, like somebody steps in to kind of calm what's going on, because if they don't, and this keeps going, like I just fear. I fear for what's going to happen. And I'm not. It's not about the money thing. It's just the panic and everything else. And I don't know. It's tough. It's tough, but I think we're going to get through it. Like I said this a million times tonight. I got faith that this is what we need to happen, and we're going to get through this here. So,
Naval just tweeted something I thought was a good perspective on it. Is it depends how you look at it from a perspective. Is the virus makes us fear our health, it imprisons us in our homes, and it steals our productive time, or another perspective is a virus makes us value our health. It delivers us to our homes and gives us free time. And I think that's what's kind of important about it. Is it's all about perspective and how you approach it and what you get out of it. I think one of the more interesting things is the follow-up to what he said is, it makes us value our health. But I think the most important thing is it delivers us to our home. We a lot of people who don't work like we do remotely necessarily miss out on a lot of things. And if people change the fear and a positive perspective, they would see like there's a huge benefit to this if we treat it the right way.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like, it is hard if you got kids, right? I mean, no arguing with that. But even though I'm at home all day, every day, pretty much, and I spend a lot of time with my son. But recently school was indefinitely delayed or canceled or whatever. Like they got to the very last week of school here at his we have him in private school, and he was supposed to have exams, but basically they just cut off that last week, so he got scot-free, no exams, but whatever, he's just in kindergarten. But anyhow, kid's been home a lot more, and he's been doing pretty well occupying himself. But I do understand it's just an extra. I mean, I wouldn't call it a burden, but it's an extra responsibility on a lot of people who aren't, stay-at-home parents or work from home. But even in my situation, the point I was trying to get to is, even though I'm relatively used to that already, this week has actually been, I've had more, I don't know what to call it, I guess more, you know what I mean, like intimacy with my son, like more close moments, and just like sharing meaningful and fun activities together.
Well, the situation puts things in perspective then, right? That's the reality of it is, for me too, like I'm at home with my kids all the time. They're not in, they're in Thailand, school's out anyway. Before they canceled it, it's their summer break right now. But yeah, you start to, instead of like, how am I going to get all this stuff done? I got to take off to a coffee shop and do some work because I can't be distracted. And it's like really like a lot of these things can wait. You know, you just need to be smarter about your productivity, the times that you work and stuff like that. And, you know, I think you start to learn, you know, I've learned a lot of new techniques. Cody came to visit me when I lived in Phoenix, when I was a single father with two young kids, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old at the time. And they were home with me all the time. And the reality is, if I sat down with them for 45 minutes and gave them something exciting to do and learn, it would open up large periods of time where I could let them explore themselves and then I could get work done.
Mhm.
But I mean, the thing now is like when you're kind of forced in this situation, you know, you get a lot of perspective. You know, a lot of us are running away from home, running away from the responsibilities of taking care of our kids, of, you know, spending quality time with our families. And I think a lot of people are stuck at home right now, and they're seeing, you know, on the negative side, they're seeing the cracks in the system. You know, it's really easy to pretend like your wife's relationship is great when you're not home all the time. And I think when you're home, you start to open up some of those, you know, some of those cracks. And even this, you know, Dwight mentioned something earlier about, you know, one thing we need to consider is the mental health and well-being of how this situation is going to play out for some people. Like I said, with all the positive cracks it exposes, things that you can fix, it's going to open up a lot of negative things as well.
Yeah.
When you're stuck at home and you realize, I don't really have any hobbies. I don't really have any friends. I don't really have much of anything. You know, you start thinking about this stuff where my relationship's great. Well, it's great when you only see each other three hours a week. You know, and you might start to open up some things. And it's just a matter of perspective and, you know, how you approach it. You can use this newfound free time to you know, close up those major gaps in your life and your relationships and your you know, stuff like that. Or, you know, you might end up, I think we're gonna, like, again, like Dwight said, I think we're gonna end up seeing a lot of people negatively impacted from a mental health perspective, even suicide and stuff like that. I think there's going to be a major, between losing their jobs, between, again, exposing those cracks by being forced to be at home. There's a lot of things to think about in this situation. It's not as simple as you know, I might get a flu or whatever. You know, there's so many aspects of this, economically, mentally, physically, you know, jobs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Dwight just said even something simple like not being able to attend a funeral. I mean, yeah, like this is, you know, while trying to keep it in a positive light. I mean, the circumstances of our lives are going to be, it varies depending on where you are. But I think it's safe to say at this point that pretty much across the board, you know, the circumstances of our lives will be radically different or limited compared to what we are used to, right? And I mean, I to be honest, I was crushed and I felt like a big baby, but like, it's just the truth. I was emotionally kind of crushed because I was so looking forward to seeing my father last week. We'd been planning on it for months. We had a whole itinerary of 2 weeks of travel. We were going to show him around the island, and as I told you guys on the beginning of the call, it was very, very, very important to me. I wanted to have him here to help me hang my sign on the fucking roof. And, you know, I felt like, I mean, this is happening to all of us. It's not about me, but inside me, I felt like, fuck, world, like you're doing this to me. You're taking away my birthday, my grand opening, and like everything, you know, everything I'm trying, the direction I had planned out for myself. And I imagine tons of people feel something like that simultaneously. And yeah, I mean, and it's going to get harder, you know, like that was just the first little tremor. But yeah, the truth is, like, many people in the world, like, you know, not trying to be Darwinist or anything, but there are people at varying stages of well, mental and emotional health, and you know, there's people out there alone. There's a lot of people out there alone, and that's probably got to be the most difficult situation if you really are completely isolated. I mean, some people like that, but but you know, I mean, everyone's in a different situation. Some people are going to definitely have much harder times than others, and some people are going to fail, you know, in the face of it, I guess, in one way or another. It's like, I hate to say that, but I mean, it's that's the world we live in. It's not my rules. But you know, everyone has to die eventually, and we are all going to go through hardships on our path to death.
I think we just need to do our best. We need to do our best as citizens of the world to pass that positive message.
Yes.
That
Yes.
these exposed cracks are not negative things. They're things to look at it from a positive perspective and rebuild them and fix them, so you don't run into these issues. Like I was saying, as far as, you know, exposing cracks in relationships with your significant other or your children. You know, I think in a lot of ways, like, this could be a great thing. But they need the. It'll only be a great thing if the people around them are supporting them from that perspective. You know, I think it's our duty to help support our friends and family from a positive perception and a positive point of view, that, you know, that these exposed cracks are beneficial, not negative. It's the people who are surrounded by the negative message behind it that are going to kind of run into these mental health issues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, that's why I bring it up. I mean, we have to, I guess, accept or recognize the reality that, yeah, like, a lot of people, this is going to be hard. And I think the economic impact and just the restriction on our lives, our day-to-day lives, is going to be, I think that's going to present more hardship than the virus itself. That's my personal opinion. I'm not an expert I'm not a virologist or anything, but, you know, yeah, I think that this will present bigger challenges for the world community. You know, it's going to impact everybody in some way. And the unfortunate reality is, like, not everyone is going to come out better. But I think as a whole, we have the opportunity to rebuild things for the better. And like you say, yeah, it's like it's necessary that those with the strength to do so, and the I guess I would just say, yeah, the strength of mindset more than anything, of belief, of whatever you got. I mean, it's going to expose the weaknesses in every area of your life if we go through this for very long, in your mindset, in your health, your relationships, your wealth, in all of those areas. And I mean, I think you guys know by now, like, it's actually, it is painful, but it's good to know those things in the big picture. But then there's a lot of people in the world who are not ready, probably. You know, it's good for them to know the truth too, but a lot of people are not raised that way or oriented that way or prepared. And I mean, Eric, thanks for joining us, man. Eric says he needs to head out. But yeah, thanks for being here, buddy.
Maybe that's why the heroes, you know what? Maybe that's why you started this, Cody. You know what I
I
mean?
guess it's weird to say it, but like,
That's how I kind of feel. Like you know, like maybe this is why you started this. Maybe
I
this
didn't foresee a scenario like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I'm thanking God right now that at least we have the beginnings of like a pretty tight knit, small community, and I do think that the stuff we've been working on is 100% relevant to this time, you know, and yeah, we got to go all in and keep going, right? Double down, I guess, and what I'm trying to get out, I'm kind of all over the place, but yeah, like this is the time for those who can summon the will to stand up and be leaders, you know, in whatever perhaps small way you can. Like I was saying before, it's like even if it's just in your family, you know, but in your neighborhood, in your local community, in your business in some way, or if you have an online community, you know, like any way you can, like, yeah, how can you step up? It's like there's a lot of bad stuff going on, but the good, the from, you know, the double-edged sword idea, like the good side is life is giving us an opportunity to, again, to like show what we're made of, I guess, you know, and yeah, it's only dawning on me slowly, you know, like that. There's many directions I think I could go, and I am, like I say, very grateful to have like you guys involved in what I'm doing, and just it's still early days, but just what we've built so far, I think it's a good foundation to build much more on. But what do you guys think? Like in your lives, yeah, how is there an area of your life that you're you know, ready or looking at doubling down on and improving, or building out something new? Or is there a specific domain, you know, whether in your family, your business, your community somehow, where you feel called maybe to try to become more of a leader? What are you guys feeling amidst all of this?
like for me and my family, like this is just from my perspective. I'm trying to be the calm one. You know, like just showing, I guess, leadership. I get a little bit, you know. Not gonna lie, my family's quite scared. Um, I'm trying to be like Yoda, I guess. You know, just kind of like trying to, you know, I'm not scared either, but at least I'm kind of trying to control my fear a little bit. And I think, you know, that's my way right now of helping, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. Just trying to, you know, listen, be more attentive, be more, you know, empathetic, more compassionate, even to like people downtown, you know, that I meet. Whatever, just try to help out right now. I think that's what is needed right now, just to kind of be empathetic, because I think part of we're in this pickle because, you know, we weren't per se. You know, we're concentrating on the wrong things, and you know, now this virus is here. It's reality. We have to deal with it. You know, and people, I don't know. There's some calmness that needs to come in. We have everybody's aspect, you know, financial, whatever relationship. You have to be more understanding right now, and that for me, that's what I'm concentrating on.
I think that's really good advice and an excellent thing to do. I mean, we're all, you know, I'm catching myself at times, I guess, being a little more something, you know, emotional or easy to, you know, I've snapped at my son and my wife a couple times and had to apologize. But, you know, we're all imperfect. We're all gonna make mistakes along the way. But yeah, it's like we've got to just lead by example, right? And do our best to let our best traits shine right now. be a good neighbor, like you say, Rico. Dwight, thank you so much, buddy, for tuning in. I see you've got to run, but I love you, man. Stay safe over there. Keep in touch, and yeah, let's definitely. I mean, anyone who has to jump off, let's touch base again real soon and plan another one. I mean, like I say before, I'd love to at least do a weekly call with you guys for anyone who's willing to catch up. But yeah, take care, man. Say hi to Panisha and the team, and thanks for contributing, buddy. Yeah, Rico, be a good neighbor, right? That's excellent wisdom. It also kind of brings up in my mind, I think, another Stoic saying. We were talking about Marcus Aurelius earlier. I think it was him. Said, like what we do today, or our actions, what we do now, will echo in eternity, and yeah, it's like whether it's for the better or the worse, like even simple small things, even just being a good neighbor, doing something small to help someone else out when you can, like that has a domino effect in some sense, right? So yeah, let's all try to summon the will to treat others, as you say, as best as we can, and to be someone reliable as best as we can. Just be there to help, if nothing more. But I do think that, like, yeah, people in this community, like you guys are each already on this path in some way. And as I said before, it's like we're all, even though we are being separated to some degree with quarantine, like we're all in this together. And yeah, I mean, the more we can lead by example, the better, right? And yeah, the better influence we can be on the people around us, the more that hopefully will spread in ways, we may never see. I've been saying for months, Rico, inside the Foundry, that there's a few things I've been wanting to do. I was waiting to get this office complete, and it's pretty much complete now. And from my end, at least, it looks like I'll be sitting here all by myself. Like, we were having customers, my wife was on calls like 3 times a day, and now it looks like I'll mostly just be sitting here alone. So, so it's time for the situation is pushing me to actually do a lot of shit I've been saying I was going to do, and put my money where my mouth is, and produce some of the things I've been talking about for quite a while. But yeah, I want to check base with you guys and see, what would potentially be of most value. I think, like, this week ahead, I just had my birthday, and I like to pretty much every year do a real deep dive with myself, just thinking about these things, like what matters most to me, what direction am I going, looking at goals for the year ahead, that sort of stuff. And I think it's a wise time to incorporate some of the principles that I've learned with you, Ian, like from Warrior, for example, and some of Garrett and the Warrior Brotherhood probably gave me more tools than anything else it was a lot of writing exercises, particularly, to really delve into, like, truth, like the fact map, you know what I'm talking about. And I think this is a really good time to revisit and share exercises like that
Yeah, this is I've been thinking about this a lot too. I think this is a good time to revisit some of the old training, and even do one of the King's challenges or something. Because what happens is you just get complacent.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happened. I went from stacking and journaling and meditating and core 4 every day to core 0 every day. And it's funny because it's weird how we are as humans, because, like, I can attribute the best things that have happened in my life financially, career-wise, health-wise, especially, relationship-wise with my kids and everything. I can attribute that best part of my life to that time when I was fully committed to core 4 and stacking every day and all that kind of stuff. And then you still let it fall apart. It's kind of funny, like how we do that. We just we get in that pit and then it drags out, and then there's like what does Sam call it? The shilt, the shame and guilt. That feeling of shilt that like I didn't stack yesterday or all last week, so might as well.
Fuck it at this point. Yeah.
It's like I'll go in the software, I'll create like a 90-day challenge, and like I'll fuck up the first 4 or 5 days, and it's like, fuck, I just blew this whole 90-day challenge. So you just kind of let it slide. It's just an interesting phenomenon as humans, but it's things like this that help put things back in perspective. It's like, maybe if there's any good time to be on top of my game, it's right now.
Yes.
Like, just like we're saying, like I hate to say that, unfortunately a lot of people in this world are going to be suffering for a long time. But those of us who can execute, who are smart, who think outside the box, are going to be the ones that prosper out of it, in times of, like Rico kind of said this a couple times, like, and, it's unfortunate that people are going to hurt in this situation, but it's also a time for some of us to really pull out of it stronger than we ever were.
Yeah. And we'll bring up others with us,
Yeah, exactly. Like from a financial perspective, I mean, the Great Depression birthed the Rockefellers, birthed the whole new, the new old money and stuff like that. And the people who are in a position to take advantage of this situation, I really hate to say it like that.
I feel guilty. Like I was in the Foundry, I have all this core stuff. Cody knows, I feel guilty putting it out now because of what's going on. Like, I feel that it's not the time, just because of what's going on, like I don't know if I feel like I'm taking advantage of people or what, just because of the, what's going, like the hardships that are going on. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, obviously I don't know the content of what you're talking about.
And stuff I got, right? Like it's, I got, I've done pretty much, I've spent 3 months putting it all together, and I did the Foundry with Cody, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. And I always kept putting it off.
My perspective is this: is if whatever you're teaching or whatever you're selling will benefit even one person in this whole situation, it's worth putting out, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, you're not taking advantage of anybody. People are making their own decisions,
right?
But like, I don't, we sell Facebook ads, affiliate marketing training courses.
Right.
I don't feel bad about the people buying it, because the reality is a lot of our students succeed, and they'll use this, now that they're, a lot of our students have, can only do it part-time because they work full-time jobs or whatever. And this may be that opportunity that they need to have their big breakthrough. And I've already seen it. Like we have a workplace community with 500 paying members who pay $500 a month to be part of it, and there are people in there posting today how they broke their first $500 profit day, their first $1,000 profit day. So now they got the time and the energy. And the way I look at it is like, the people who are putting in the work, the people are, again, I was saying how the situation, kind of puts things, it depends on your perspective. Either you're sitting at home and you're bummed and you're watching Netflix, or you're funneling that energy into something positive. And if you're funneling it, like I said, a lot of I'm seeing. I can show you screenshots. I've had several students today posting that they're making their first profit, and some of them are making big chunks of profit, $500, $1,000, and some of them are already talking about like, shit, if things keep going this way, I'm not even gonna go back to my job if I get it back, or if it comes back. So that's the way I look at it. Is like, if your information, like I said, I don't know the details, but if your information can help one person in this really shitty situation, then it's definitely worth putting out. Why not?
Thanks.
Well, yeah, just to clarify, Rico's in trading, and I understand your whatever hesitation, I guess, because it's the game is who knows right now, right?
Yeah.
I would share a personal story though, like what's happening to my wife, because she does visa consulting, right? She predominantly helps other Filipinas that are trying to go through the U.S. tourist visa process, and it kind of coaches them through that and helps with paperwork and blah 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 blah. But so she's been. She was killing it. She was doing really well these last couple of months, and it's not all gone, but it's as of right now, it appears that they're like no one's flying anywhere, and they're shutting down the visa system, as far as that's my understanding. But I told her, it's like, who knows? I don't want to say that the worst case scenario will play out, but we might. Nobody may be traveling for months or a year. Who knows? But at the very least, I think it is a time when if people with a domain expertise, like at the very least, you can still be making yourself a conduit for good information, still be like developing the role of being a dependable person who's sharing, communicating the best information you can, to your audience. It's like, I just be real. Like, I don't know what's going on in this situation, but here's what I do know. Here's some important facts, some things that I see happening in the markets, and this is the stuff I believe that should get out there, that people should be aware of. And I think, like, you might need to go a different direction with some of the content you've created. You might not, but at least, like, being that person, that go-to person in your niche, and being someone who's out there, visible, just sharing the latest, and hopefully people will flock to you, and people will come to you with questions, right, and needing some kind of guidance. That's what I think.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just, I have the empathy a little bit right now. Like, it's kind of, I don't know, part of me, like me and Cindy had to talk about this. She kind of feels the same way with her coaching thing. It's like, honestly, she feels like she's taking advantage of people's fears and stuff. So she's kind of on the back burner a little bit too. So, yeah, I'm going to think about it. Like, it's going to happen. It's just, I don't know, right now is the best time right now. So, but
sometime soon though.
yeah, for sure. Like I said, I put, got everything done. Got to sell the house first. Then we went overseas, and then I just keep. Yeah, you know me. I do the work. It comes down to it. Fear kicks in a little bit.
All this could be, maybe even we're overreacting. Maybe it starts chilling out pretty quickly. They come out with a vaccine. People get more confident. And the market starts to come back up. Like, that's probably the best time to maybe a good reason to wait. Then you're not taking advantage of anyone. You're just giving people information that they want to know at the time they want to know it.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I'm nobody. I'm nobody special. I just I have a little bit of knowledge, I think.
Yes,
that.
you are, Rico.
What's that?
Don't say that again. You are somebody special.
Well, I'm looking at the market right now, guys, and it's open and it's going up, so that's a good thing.
Well, hey, there you go.
Yeah, well,
I know there's news. There was some news today about some French combo with that anti-malarial.
Yeah.
Mixed with one antibiotic is like, it's coming out really positive for people. I know that news came out, so when stuff like that comes out, it gives people hope again. So hopefully there's more positive stuff like that coming out.
Yeah, like AstraZeneca, which is a huge company, massive. They're getting, I think that Trump is getting them on board, and they're huge. Like they're massive. They're probably one of the biggest drug companies. Like I said, I got faith that we're going to come through this. It might take a little while, but I think
there's definitely stuff out there. I know, like Elon Musk has been talking about converting the SpaceX factories to ventilators and stuff like that.
That's what I mean by leaders. Like, Elon is whatever, but at least the guy's trying to do something. He giving a little bit of, some. I think we just need calm. That I feel like just the energy around it. Like even where I live in a smaller city. I don't live in the big city anymore, and it's just like the fear. It's like it's insane because these people.
I think it's the people that are getting bagged on pretty hard, which are people like Elon and even Donald Trump, like almost trying to make it sound like this isn't that big of a deal. And I understand how that may sound insensitive, but at the same time, I understand where they're coming from. They're trying to keep people's, Trump gets a lot of flack for all this, but like you gotta consider, like you're talking about the economy of the world you're playing with, and it's not that anyone's insensitive to older people getting sick and all this kind of stuff and people dying. It's he tweeted something today that he got a lot of flack for, which is like the cure can't be worse than the disease itself. Yeah. And he was specifically referring to the collapse of the economy.
Didn't I just text that to you, Ian, the other day? Didn't I say the medicine is?
He just posted that like a couple hours ago, I think, or something. And like I said, like, I mean, I'm not sticking up for any other actions he may or may not have taken in the course, but it's like the funny thing is, like, if he would have shut down the U.S. sooner and the economy would have collapsed sooner, they would have attacked him for that too.
It would have happened anyway. Like it's even up here. We got Mr. Trudeau. A lot of people. He's not very popular, but at least he's. I don't. He's not my favorite person, but at least he's. At least they're trying. Even with President Trump, at least they're whatever. Like they're doing what they can, I guess.
Yeah, like people don't understand. Like this is a virus that's in every single country in the world.
It's reality. It's here.
Yeah, there's no way to control the U.S. as big as it is, and as many people that the economy depends on and stuff. Like it was going to come to the U.S. regardless, whether they close the borders down or it would just. It's just a reality. Like it's hard for a country that has 8 million people to stand on their high horse, and someone like Singapore, control it. It's like, well, we have 320 million people in the largest landmass country in the world with multiple borders and the most inbound flights in the world. All this kind of stuff, it all matters, and you can't treat everything equally. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter who was in power, whether it was Trump or Obama or anyone. I mean, Obama was around during the H1N1 outbreak, and things weren't, So it's just, again, it's perspective. Like you got to look at all the data.
Well, the U.S. has the financial firepower to do this. That's my opinion. So I guess I don't live in the States, but we're totally dependent on the States, and at least out of any country, the U.S. can, they got the financial firepower, and he's, like I said, I think President Trump's he's gonna do whatever it takes, I guess, and for what it is, for a lot of people knock the guy, from what I've seen, he gets things done the way he gets things done. He may not, it doesn't
look pretty
happy, but he gets it done his way. So maybe him being in there is the right guy for the job right now.
I think when the economy's taking a hit like it is, it's good to have someone with the mentality that he has. Whether it's malevolent or benevolent, or whether he wants to save his corporate buddies or whatever bullshit comes from it, like the reality is like you want someone with that much invested. Plus, like you said, it's with it being an election year and all that kind of stuff, like it's gonna, like, the one thing that he had in his advantage was our economy.
Yeah.
The job statistics and the economic statistics are the best it's ever been under him. And that's the one piece of firepower that he had for re-election. And that's being stripped of him now. And he's going to do everything in his power to gain control of it from an economic angle.
Well, if there is a Great Depression, he's just going to be like the rest of us. Like that's the way, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're making a little bit of a joke, but it's, like I said, if he, I don't know, I got a little faith in the guy, to be honest with you. I think he's gonna, like you said, he's gonna do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And
he's got some tricks up his sleeve.
He's not a dumb person. He
knows how to stir up.
Yeah.
He knows how to stir up things, and it gets people's attention. But I think he's a lot smarter than
same here.
Credit for. I think we'll see. I mean, we can only speculate. I think the problem is the unfortunate problem is this problem is bigger than just the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one guy who has a little bit of power.
It's funny watching all the political commentarians or whatever. Do their I mean, just like every day, every issue, every week, right? Like, still talking as if, I mean, I do think, I think he's much smarter than he plays on TV, if you get my drift. And I think he always has a few surprises up his sleeve. He's certainly not as incompetent as many of his political enemies want you to believe. But also, like, this scenario is going to show, like, I mean, the president, like, I think there's surprisingly little that the president actually controls, like.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. There's a lot more people.
Coronavirus is not under the U.S. president's control.
There's people with real power that are controlling a lot more than he has control over. So.
Well, I mean, it's the interworkings of every major system in the whole world, across the whole world, like travel.
I mean, everything from the Fed to the World Health Organization to all that stuff comes into play. And this is an international issue. It's not a U.S. issue. It's an international.
It's not Trump's fault. That's all I'm trying to point out. I have family members that are going to be mad at me for saying that, but I mean, I'm just trying to speak truth.
Like Ian said, this was going to show up sooner or later.
You can't stop it. If we shut down the borders in January, first of all, people would have been labeling him as an alarmist and all that kind of stuff, and the economy would be much worse off by now than it is, and it still would have got there, and it still would have spread. It just is what it is. I mean, I don't think anyone's got it really fully under control. I mean, some smaller countries like Singapore have been managing it, but I think it's a lot easier when you only have to control the movement of 8 million people in a society where it's basically a police state, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing is under control.
People who've never had their freedom this limited is a whole different situation, whole different couple worms.
Well, okay, so sorry guys, but I do want to bring it back. You know, like, yeah, I think that this whole scenario will definitely start to show, like, I mean, nothing is in control. You know, there's a lot of like universal issues that really are not up to any one person's control, right? And there are things that are way beyond our influence. But I do want to reel it back into what the theme we were talking about before of, like, yeah, you know, that it is what it is, right? And we can all hope and pray and be positive that those in positions of authority where they do have some influence, you know, I mean, they're doing what the best they can, and hopefully they do have some things they can do, you know, that will improve the situation. I mean, I am hopeful about that, but I also think, yeah, it's time to for each of us to really look at what is in our control, you know, and and yeah, just continue to bring it back to, like, what you know, what's your kingdom, right? Like, what's in your domain that you have control or influence over? You know, what are the resources that you have at your disposal, and how can you put them to the best use?
Yeah, this goes back to what I said about perspective. You know, you need to look at things from, you know, from a positive perspective, like you're being delivered to your family. Like,
yeah,
this is not a bad thing. You know, you're realizing how important being in alignment with your health is. So things like this don't affect you as much if you do get it. You know, you get more time with your wife and kids, and you have more free time, and may even learn that, you know, you lose your job and you might be better off, you know, working as an entrepreneur or working remotely. You know, there's a lot of positive aspects to look at. Or, you know, someone like me, I'm looking at the things I can control. The one thing I can control is like I said, I've always believed that our only real security is our food supply. Being able to grow and raise and manage your own food supply. And I'm looking at this as an opportunity to teach my kids how to do the same thing, because, like I said, this isn't the last time something like this is going to happen. And it's probably not the worst time that something like this is going to happen. I mean, you look at the Black Plague, the Black Death killed 60% of the European population, right? Like they said. There's a lot of bad things that can still happen in this world. And the only thing that I'm in control over is how I take care of my family and what I can teach my kids and what they can learn from this situation. So when they get older, they have the knowledge and ability to survive in that situation. Like I said, like people are freaking out that they're stuck at home on their couch watching Netflix. Yeah. You know, imagine what's going to happen if shit really hits the fan. You know, if you don't know how to hunt for food, you know, if you don't know how to, you know, use a gun, for example. I mean, I know these aren't popular things to talk about, but I mean, the reality is if you can't grow your own food and you can't hunt your own food, then you become a burden and a liability to society. So this is, I mean, you know, the way I look at it is I'm using this as an opportunity to also pull myself out of the comfort zone that I've been in for a long time and get back to my roots, and also pass those skills on to my kids. So, when they face hardship when they get older, they're able to manage it. Like
Yeah,
the last thing I want to see is a video of my son like beating somebody up in the toilet paper aisle somewhere. You know, like,
well, yeah, I'm using this.
$23. Go on Amazon and get a spray gun like a normal person.
I'm using this as a time to really double down on teaching the most important lessons that I can think of, that are timely and relevant to my son, and looking for opportunities to like do stuff like play in the garden, start dabbling in the garden, working on fitness together with my son. I think it's a very important time for all of us, to like.
I think you mentioned.
Let me finish my thought. To go within, to work on ourselves in whatever way is necessary. I think for some that looks like some kind of spirituality. I recommend meditation as a staple practice. Figure whatever that looks like for you. But yeah, it's time to cherish, the time with, if you've got family or if you've got kids at home, and to work on yourself. The other thing I was just going to say about like families with kids at home, I mean, this, one of many opportunities I see big time is, I mean, for children and adults, but I think, it's an opportunity for all of us in our own way, because like if people are sitting at home looking for something to do, they're looking for videos to watch, things to learn, courses to take, and particularly for kids. I mean, this may change education in the bigger picture. Like at home, homeschooling, but just virtual classroom type stuff is, I would say, highly likely to really boom. I think out of this. But yeah, what were you gonna say? Take it away, Ian.
I was just gonna reiterate what you were saying is, like, you had mentioned a couple times about your dad or your grandparents or something teaching you, watching them grow a garden and stuff like that. And it's funny because when you think about your life, your childhood, like what were some of your greatest memories? Like some of mine were my great grandmother's garden, or learning to fish with my grandfather, these kind of things. Like, I remember sitting in the garden with my grandmother and, picking tomatoes and going inside and making BLTs and stuff like that. Like, and these things now, now I'm remembering these things, and they're some of my greatest memories. And, so I look at it from that perspective too, is like, by teaching my kids this kind of stuff, by taking them fishing, by teaching them in the garden, by doing these things with them where they're actually learning skills, or potentially things that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives, and they're going to appreciate. They're going to be the best moments of their lives. Because I think even if you're sitting at home with your kid and you sit down and you do a puzzle with them or something, or play GI Joes with them, like, I don't think they necessarily remember those experiences. I think the most memorable ones are the ones where you learned from your father or your mother and stuff like that. So, that's all I was getting to was that. And also about your second point, I mean, me and you have been talking about education for a long time, building schools for our kids and all that kind of stuff. And I think this is going to definitely open people's minds to reorganizing our education system to where I think kids learning at home, self-learning, is going to become much, much bigger. And I don't necessarily mean homeschooling, like online classes, online testing, stuff like that. Yeah. This could be the direction that this could be the thing that really sparks a change in the educational system as well.
I certainly have a feeling that this is going to push things that direction. In a big
Which
way.
it needs to be done. Like our education system has needed to be fixed for a long time, and this may be the disruption that starts that process.
It's weird to say this, but like I was kind of trying to make that point earlier. Like I feel like it's the perfect storm, like of all these major institutions and systems that we all know somewhere deep down inside, we all know they need to change and adapt and evolve, and they're like in many ways kind of trailing behind the times. But yeah, like something like this, it may be the one uniting impetus that like forces like everything to change and adapt. But it's like it's been coming, it's been coming a long time. Stock market needs to change. Education needs to change. Government needs to change. The way we live our lives needs to change. The way we raise our kids needs to change. And, we have to go through this. Like there's no getting out of it. So we'll see where it takes us. But yeah, it's in a way it feels like it's been coming a long time, and it's a combination of all these different things. But yeah, it will have far-reaching impact, I think, on our lives. But,
yeah, I think Rico is talking about the way the stock market. A mutual friend, or Matt Bellamere, used to do that, right? Used to do thousands of trades in minutes. Like when there's no volume, when you start to see that the real cause of the lack of volume is these people that are basically exploiting the system are opting out right now. It's causing a much bigger problem than we thought.
Exactly. That's a huge issue. It's massive. Like people don't understand, like the layman person, like I said, I'm no expert per se. But like it's maybe 4 or 5 hedge funds or, these firms and
tens of thousands of trades an hour.
In a second, they can. There's a YouTube video. I think there's a 7-second. Like they showed high frequency trading programs, and in 7 seconds, they've made 7,000 trades or something.
Making a fraction of a penny.
Yeah, they work the spread, right? But if you do that 7,000 times at 12 on the S&P E-mini or whatever, 7,000 times 1250 per tick, like what is that? And that's in 7. It's just insane. And like a human cannot possibly, like I'm competing, kind of with, and I don't know. It's just not that there's nothing. It is what it is, and that's the way the game is played. But it's like now we're seeing
the problem. We're going to see that. Like that's going to be exposed through all this, and hopefully it's a catalyst. Yeah, that just like this is a catalyst. Education needs. This is a catalyst people need for moving to more remote work. Even on a personal level, it might be the catalyst that makes people realize that work-life balance is important, and being with your kids and teaching them and all that kind of stuff is important. So yeah, and it's all about perspective. We just need to stay look at the positive that's coming out of this. A lot of
definitely think it's going to push many more people to go remote. Look at whatever nomadism, or at least earning an income online. So, like you said earlier, that's good for those of us who have already been, pioneering that path for a while. Yeah, man, it's crazy times, but I'm glad to have some cool guys on board, and a few good men, I guess, to share the journey with. I wanted to mention a few things personally that that I would like to do, that I'm thinking about with the Foundry. I think this week I will probably return to my roots, at least with Joseph Campbell, and I'd like to go through. In the past I've shared a few lectures and videos of his, but I think that this week it was my birthday. I think what's today? 23 here. 24th, I believe, is Joseph Campbell's birthday, and so I'm gonna be probably sharing a lot more in the Foundry, and if and when I get access to my Facebook groups again, I'll try to share there as well. But I want to really tread a little more deeply into this. Like, yeah, some like Rico, Rico's been involved in what, 2 of my challenges, right, in the last 6. Well, it's probably been 9 months now. But
This time last year, so
yeah, it was like February or March, right?
yeah, I think it was last year, and then March, yeah, end of summer, beginning of summer last year, I think we.
Mm-hmm. I really want to delve into this. The book is The Hero with 1,000 Faces. Did you remind me, Ian? Did you ever read any of this?
No.
Did you know this, Joseph Campbell? Okay. Anyhow, I mean, a lot of marketers do know it. A lot of screenwriters and just writers in general do know it. Like Jeremy Franson. Am I getting that right? From Internet Business Mastery. He and I used to talk at length about the hero's journey as kind of a blueprint or a framework for storytelling, because they use it in writing movie scripts. They use it in authors use it writing books, and Joseph Campbell was kind of, I think his heyday, I would probably say, was really like the 40s and 50s. He was an academic, a professor at what was it?
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I gotta get to walk my dog here. He's bugging me.
Okay, so I'm wrapping up, but yeah, I think this week I'm gonna be sharing more inside the Foundry about the hero's journey, and perhaps delving a bit into this book, because I think this is important and it ties a lot of things together. But other things that I would like to do, I've also been wanting to, like, I've gone through a lot of it, but ClickFunnels has a great 30-day challenge that I'm sure I've shared with you, Rico. I've been talking to Dwight about it. I've been working on it with my wife. And you got this book, Expert Secrets? Actually, I think, Ian, this is your copy. Sorry.
Yeah.
But did you get this one,
I have that
Rico?
book, Cody. Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, I mean, have you been through that very much?
I started it, to be honest with you. I didn't finish it. It's got concepts in there.
So beyond Joseph Campbell and just like getting a solid, painting the picture for the framework that is the hero's journey itself, because I think that applies to your psychology, which is important right now, and like it might help drive many of us through some of the hardships that will very likely be coming our way soon. But it's something that can also be applied in your business, as far as how you write and share your story, and what story you are telling, or sharing. So I would like to start with that. So the next few days, keep your eyes open inside the Foundry community. I will be sharing what I'm learning and more videos about Joseph Campbell. But in the next month, I keep thinking I'd like to do maybe a 30-day challenge around sales funnels, and going through some of ClickFunnels resources and training, and really delving deep into this book, because whatever, like in your situation, Rico, I mean, like you're talking about having a course that you said it's almost ready to go, right?
I did all my manuals. I got like 30 or 35.
But having the same exact thing has applied to me for the last year or two as well. So don't take this personally, but I know that feeling of kind of like you have this thing you want to put out there in the world, but then there's always the hesitation or the fear, the uncertainty. I've been doing that
Been like
for a
3
long time.
years for you, Cody.
Well, it's been my whole life. But
we're talking about this in Phoenix. Like you gotta launch this thing. You got you got everything. You have everything you need.
I do. I do. But I want to. I mean, yeah. Is that something that would interest you guys? You've probably been through that, Ian, right? But I mean, a focus on. There's 2 directions, because I'm interested to share more what I learned going through the Warrior Brotherhood and stuff that you helped introduce me to, Ian. I think there's a lot of really good wisdom and really useful exercises in Garrett's system. So I've been thinking about sharing, my experience, at least when I went through the King's Challenge, like back in 2017 or 2018, whatever it was. And then there's also like, learning, because this is, you'll benefit from the hero's journey and the warrior's way. But I think for you, Rico, and for many people, what you're actually stuck on is building the damn thing, just like me, So I've been meaning to beef up my wife's sales funnel, essentially, for her services. I've been meaning to deploy at least 2 or 3 new sales funnels for myself with slightly different offerings. But yeah, I mean, does that interest you? Diving more into Russell Brunson stuff, Expert Secret? Because the one thing I do, like, what I love about this book is it's about the story you tell, and the almost the character building, to build yourself into a leader for your movement, for your business, for whatever. And like we were touching on it earlier when you expressed, I guess, your hesitation with putting your offer out there right now. But it's like, I think following something like this, it will help give you the skills to become a better storyteller and roll with the punches and adapt to whatever's going on in the world around us, And we're all gonna have to adapt, right? What we're doing and our businesses, our services will probably need to adapt to these circumstances. But I do think, this Expert Secrets, thank you again, Ian. The Ian Borders gave me this, ladies and gentlemen, and I was supposed to return it to you, but I think you left Phoenix or something. Anyhow, we haven't run into each other again. But it's an amazing book, and if any of you guys in the Foundry want to join me, I think that this week I'll do some Joseph Campbell Hero's Journey stuff, and if it seems to align, if it fits, let me know. I want your comments, but I think maybe we'll do like a 30-day challenge starting, next week / for the month of April, and see what we can build together. What do you guys think? Would you be interested in, I think, because Ian, you were also saying, same with me, like I've done, mastermind groups and 90-day challenges and 30-day challenges. I've been doing that since 2006 in my own way. But then, going through the King's Challenge with Warrior was certainly kind of the most intensive, I guess, challenge that I've gone through. And but in any setting, like it's really here in the Foundry. I think we first started the Hero Challenge in 2015. Yeah, and I like to set up 90-day challenges where we meet weekly, and each person in the group, gets clear on a few goals for that quarter, and like you were saying earlier, it's like when I have a mastermind group or a small group to go through a organized challenge with for a set period of time, it's so empowering, I guess, like having that energy from the other people. And like you were saying,
to have the accountability.
Right. Like Rico had said, it's the same here, like even though I've organized and run these things myself many times, I fall off the wagon just like everybody else too. And if I go months and months and not having kind of a more organized structure like that, and the accountability of others, then I find myself also in a place where it's like I'm not doing any of my maintenance work,
It helps when you got a big, scary Iranian guy with a beard.
Sam does help for yes. Sam is amazing. Yes, he's the best, one of the best coaches.
Or like one time when I was in Phoenix, one of the certified trainers, Garrett, another guy named Garrett, like the SWAT team guy, Yeah, he just showed up at my house when I didn't make a call. They're knocking on my door like, where the fuck were you?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
so I mean, yeah, I want to. Several of us, we've lost a few guys now, but several of us have done these groups together before. There's several more you guys in the Foundry for anyone watching this after the recording. We've done this many times, but it's been a while, and I think now is a time when I could certainly use it. I think a lot of people could use it, and yeah, whatever way we can create the space, the platform to just get you guys together, sharing and getting clear on, like we've been saying on this call, like what really matters most to you. I think like that's the blessing in disguise in this situation. It's going to eliminate a lot of the bullshit, right? It already has for me. It's like, there's a lot of stuff I would like to do, but I'm not going to prioritize that. I just don't have time for it. But yeah, for each of you guys, like if there's a project, a service, an offer, that you're trying to get out there, I wanna do anything I can to create those accountability structures for all of us. And yeah, I would love to go on this hero's journey together, and I think it's gonna get we'll delve much deeper. So anyhow, have a think about that, you two, and I'd love any comments from the rest of y'all that are not on this call with me. But I would like to share as we build some sales funnels for Hero Foundry Visa Consulting Services and for the Foundry Lab here, and for some of my writing, content creation that I'm working on. And if that fits the bill for you guys, let me know. And maybe Ian, would you be willing to come on once in a while and share a bit more of some of the Warrior's Way training that we've experienced?
Sure, yeah. Sorry, I work.
Oh, you're on the phone.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, we have been on here for quite a long time. We're going on 4 hours, but I really, really appreciate both of you.
Yeah,
guys.
I need to get to work myself personally.
Yeah, let's wrap things up. But I really appreciate both of you guys, your time, your contributions. It's you're two of my favorite people, and everyone else who was on this call. This was a really good combination. So thanks to all of you guys. Dwight and Sean and Eric, and I think that was all that was actually on here. Anyhow, for everyone watching, we will do this again. Like I said earlier, I would be happy to do it more frequently, depending on what feedback I get from you guys, your availability, because I think we are all going to be sitting at home a lot more. So we'll see how that plays out. But at the very least, I plan to do at least a weekly group call. I guess maybe we'll keep this time slot if it works. But stay tuned in the Hero Foundry, in the Hero Project group. I hope I can get back in there again. Find me on Twitter. I'll leave links. But yeah, thank you guys for being here, and stay in touch and stay strong. And I hope we can keep doing this and keep each other accountable, keep each other positive.
Hey, take care, guys.
There's lots of opportunities around, so keep your eyes open.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a wild ride, I think. All right, guys. Take care.
All right, gents. Take care. Have a good night. Here we go.
See you later.